Good evening. Welcome to your Ass Hurts News Network. Coming to you live from the tip top of Cotton Tower Square with your host, Sergeant Friday. Sarge, how you doing?
Wow, Jesus. Hey, I didn't get the YouTube turned off. Crazy feed, we got the feedback. Well, I'm doing pretty good. I got no complaints. Decent looking, got a lot of money, and women on call. So yeah, I'm doing awesome. You?
All right. Well, I'm doing great.
Why be shy? It is what it is. And I have a brain that works, a functional brain that actually can achieve certain fucking objectives, can observe things and come to conclusions that 5.62 billion morons just can't seem to make.
Well, that's that puts you pretty high up there in the ranking of.
I'm up there in the pecking order, bro. My IQ is right up there with the best of them.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Right, and the simplest way to raise your IQ is to just avoid drama.
Yeah.
Right. I said 30 to 40% of the blacks would vote for Trump, and it was 33%. How did I know that?
Oh
hell, bro! How did I know it was going to be the potato chip election?
That StreamYard is going to have to revamp their screens because you're going to need a lot more room for that fucking head of yours.
Well, is it a head that I'm expanding, or is it like, am I making a valid point?
No, you're making a valid point.
Look at the Idaho 4. Every fucking argument that Ann Taylor is making to the court is the exact argument I made in the beginning.
Yeah.
Without any deviation. Everything I said that you needed to look at was the government and the actions of the government, and the actions of the police, and for them to explain their fucking conspiracy theory. And what is she filing motions on? Oh. Everything exactly touching that.
You should just tell her you're welcome.
Well, or we could run shows where I forget, did I put the title in here? Brian Kohberger was released.
Yeah, you did.
Brian K. released.
Yeah.
And let's see how much that clickbait fucking brings in. Right? That's all I'm looking to see. Now, I did come across, and I've been not following, but listening to somebody's, and actually been trying to say hi and talk to a few, including you guys on Discord, you motherfuckers. Dago I've tried to talk to, 12 Gauge I've tried to talk to, and nothing. Clue I've sent messages to, but she gets back to me, but usually conveniently after I sign off. What the fuck? What is the deal?
I didn't even know you had messaged. I don't ever see it. She's always looking at it.
Well, anyway, so when it comes to the Kohberger case, as I said in the beginning, for a lot of you fucking empty-headed fucking minions that want to argue guilt or innocence, or this one did it and that reflection matters, and you dumb, empty-headed fuck, you got wet brain. That's what you got. The whole case sat in front of you in the PCA. I said that, and every fucking motion she's filing is about the PCA and this dream. We had a dream, okay? That we had an IQ and we came up with fucking zero. Nothing in the PCA can be confirmed by the police. Every accusation they make, every suggestion they make about what Mr. Kohberger did or didn't do is unverifiable and unprovable. As was the case right from the beginning. Nothing they said. Remember when I said that this PCA is as much exculpatory as it is anything else?
Yep.
For every accusation, they give a fucking way out. Every fucking accusation. Right from the beginning, when they saw his car. They don't know which way it turned. They don't got it on camera. All they know is his cell phone went off. This guy could have fucking sat there and did a burnout and a dead zone for the phone and done that for an hour. We don't know. Could have went left, could have went right, could have went north, could have went south. It's a fucking joke. They claim he turned his phone off. Well, okay. Prove that. Prove he did that.
Yeah.
And this is why America is fucked up, because too many fucking people out here are fucked up, and they don't want to hold the government, and not even the government. Your paid representatives that work for your fucking county and your state and your town Hold them to account. Those are the people you need to be paying attention to because they're in the position most likely that can fuck you more than your neighbor. You follow me?
Yeah. No, I
The
do.
fucking government can run you the fuck over and back over you and run you over again. And what are you going to do? They're going to go out there. They're going to, they're going to imagine a fireman fucking showing up with a squirt gun. I can't even imagine that hasn't happened yet. How has that not happened?
Cost savings.
You know what I mean? What the fuck? How about an ambulance? It's a fucking some little Barbie car with a wagon behind it. When's that going to happen? Because that's the kind of ineptitude we have working for us. Holy fuck. Some kid sitting on the roof of a car acting like a siren, turning his flashlight on and off. That's going to be your next fucking 911 call. I mean, what does it take for people to wake the fuck up? We're all fucking informed because we don't watch fucking mainstream media. But then you listen to every single fucking bullshit thing the left wants to say is talked about by the right. And every fucking thing that should be said about your government officials, including your law enforcement officers that need their fucking asses kicked, is ignored, and you talk about the fucking perpetrator or the victim, or you create victims. It's insane how fucking off the rails all of us are. Except me. Cletus?
Except you, Sarge. We all aspire for greatness.
And some of us get there and we're trying to share it with you, and you hard-headed motherfuckers just can't take it. Cletus, listen. You know what the FBI agent said that identified the car in the Kohberger case? You know what his testimony so far is?
What?
That he's much more comfortable and satisfied with the identification of that car being an 11 to 13 Hyundai Elantra. And that, in fact, they showed him another picture from another place of a car that he believes soundly is a 14 to 16 Hyundai Elantra. That's how we got to these people interpreting the cop made a mistake.
Yeah.
These fucking morons. So not only that, didn't Brett Payne on the stand, when asked if the car around the crime scene was 11 to 13, his answer was yes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Holy fuck. And now we want to talk about 88 different fucking potential perpetrators that committed this crime. You fucking people couldn't find your ass with both hands. And you're going to figure out who the fuck the perpetrator is on a cell phone or a desktop computer from fucking 1,200 miles away. Okay, have at it, dumb fucks. You're literally better off trying to analyze how grass grows than listening to what these people are talking about and all the stories they create. Look at poor Sebastian's story. We got anywhere with that? I hear Dolly Vision was out the other day. What did he add to it, that stupid, dirty-footed motherfucker? Anything?
He's added about 3 days worth of content for himself off of a pair of boots, a t-shirt, and an alleged campsite. And he rode the boots one day, rode the t-shirt the next day, and tonight he's riding the campsite that looks like maybe a piece of a tarpaulin that got caught in a fucking windstorm and landed on a branch that's naturally curved. So, yeah, I mean, it's I don't know, it's crazy to me, especially with Sebastian case, right? Because it gives you somebody that truly gives a fuck and wants to help a perspective of just how little help there is when there's a ton of it presented, but very little is actually pursued. And it makes you step back and go, why? Are we really so fucked up that we do all of this for fucking entertainment and $1? Is that really what the hell we're doing?
Every one of these people are chasing pennies, and I don't understand how infatuated people have become to say just about anything at all to get attention. I mean, it's insane. And yet, maybe I'm the crazy one because I stand back and say you're all a bunch of dumb motherfuckers. Maybe I'm the only dumb guy in the world. No? Kohberger family acting suspicious. What the FBI found on Naomi Campbell's private island. All that is bullshit. Trump White House invites all kinds of P. Diddy makes this or that. In other words, all of these titles are there to bring you in. Now all of a sudden Naomi Campbell is turning into Epstein Island. It's I get the titles you want to attract people in, but can't you just tell people the truth? I mean, I went in the one where there was supposed to be about Jennifer Aniston attacking Trump, and there was not a Jennifer Aniston in it at all. The streamer didn't even mention that Jennifer Aniston. That was in her title. Wow.
Oh,
That's kind of why you guys don't see me out here that much. I just have a hard time. If people in my circle of friends discuss the things that I see on the internet around topics that are important, I'd belt them all in the fucking mouth. Whether they could beat me up or not would have to be seen. I wouldn't give a fuck. I'd get my fucking slapping. I'd give them the one hand applause.
Oh,
right.
Oh, fuck. That's a trick you learned from the one-armed masseuse, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable. Yeah. So with poor Kohberger, it seems to people that keep saying that they've got something that's not in the PCA. Well, anything they got as a result of obtaining a probable cause arrest on an American citizen, and it didn't reach probable cause. And then you got assholes out here saying, well, it's not really going to tell you the nitty gritty of it. What the fuck is wrong with your brain? Why wouldn't it? Cletus was caught on camera shooting and killing a store clerk. Are they just going to put in the PCA we caught him on camera? Or are they going to enunciate the fucking fact you shot a store clerk?
Well,
what is wrong with you?
Yeah, we've had that conversation before, like the one that I remember specifically comparing it to was the Savannah Soto, that shooting, her and Matthew Guerrera in Texas, and the PCA for that. I mean, it was just blatantly clear what they were accusing, why they were accusing, what evidence they had of it to support their accusations. Did they have more? Sure. They didn't need to put it in there. They put the critical pieces that said, yeah, we got the guy.
Let me just say that
verifiable.
Based on what we know about the Idaho 4, the sad reality of this horrific fucking crime is that we can say Brian Kohberger did it. Okay? You can say that all you want. But the one thing the caveat, the hyphen that you need to add, he did it. Brian Kohberger committed these murders, but not the way the cops explained. That's what you got here. Or we could, here, everybody always, and they've done this from the beginning, they all rest on the transfer DNA. That's how programmed these people are.
Yeah.
Not realizing it's a statistical anomaly. I'll give you guys an idea of how fucked up that is. So let's say there's 20 million people in a database, right? And your accuracy is 99.8%. Fair enough?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you're going to scan through 20 million different fucking DNA samples with a 0.2% variation in error. What does that add up to? After you go through 20 million passes and find somebody, here's the thing. You're going to find things that are close. 70%, 60%, 40%, 90%, 70%. You're going to find all of these scans and you're trying to build a DNA string. Let's be clear. That's what they were doing here, folks. They took a fucking portion of somebody's skin cells and amplified them under special software and built what they believed to be a family tree that has tens of thousands of possible fucking failure points in it. A 0.2% round is big when you're talking millions of fucking scans. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So how confident can you be? Well, he's 1 in 36 quintillion. Listen, motherfucker, based on your statistical analysis, that's your opinion. But that doesn't mean that did you confirm the other, did you then find the 2% that didn't match, the 0.2%, did you go back and rescan them? And if there's thousands of possible other links to that tree, which there is, because people don't ever look at DNA as a statistical analysis. They look at it like a fingerprint. You've all been conned by the fucking TV shows. There is a matching fingerprint to you somewhere in the history of humankind. Just be aware, even a fingerprint. But the likelihood of a matching fingerprint being available is almost nothing. Okay? With DNA, you got to do statistics. Statistically, this strand matches that strand, blah, 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 blah. And you come up with some idea of who this DNA is. But it's so weak It's so weak of evidence, folks, that even in their application for warrants on Kohberger, they wanted it excluded. That tells you all you need to know about this DNA. It's garbage. That makes sense?
Yeah.
So if you can't place him at the house, okay, with his car. Yeah, here's another thing that I realized the other day. This is a boom. Isn't it rather fucking suspicious that fucking Dylan's fucking story, her fucking outline of what happened, matches up perfectly with the movements of a car that doesn't belong to Brian Kohberger? What the fuck is that all about? Why is nobody talking about that? How the fuck could her observations match up with the movements of that car? Right?
No, I mean I can't argue with
you. I've listened to Truth and Transparency, and I gotta say, she did get rid of that fucking beep. God damn, that fucking really. I just couldn't do it no more. She does bring forward great information, and it's not about agreeing with people's opinions all the time, because it's not whether they're right or wrong that often matters. What often matters is they bring information into your brain that you may have missed or not had before. You follow me?
Yeah.
So when I'm in politics, I spend more time in the left-wing media than I do the right-wing media, and I'm a center-right guy. Why would I spend all my time on the left? That's your competition, right? If somebody's going to let you into their locker room for the opposing team, wouldn't you go there? Right? Your team's playing your blue team and red team is your opponent, and you got access to red team's locker room. Aren't you going to go over there?
Right.
Okay. So that's kind of how I do observations. That's how I try to collect information. And so when I was listening to Lana, and she did give a great explanation for Dylan and Bethany. It may have been said 1 trillion times. I never heard this before. But she suggests that Bethany's unique exculpatory evidence is that her and Dylan were in her room the whole night.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I never really heard that before or even thought of that. So if you take that into consideration, now you really have to start questioning that written report by the police, because that report can't be accurate. Her statements can't be real. And the fact that they coincide with the car's movements tells me that it was all fabricated. So I went from, just so you know, folks, having tunnel vision, that believing the cops, cops do get tunnel vision, to actually the police moving beyond tunnel vision and actually framing this guy for these crimes. There's no other explanation available to us. And that would include maybe even being smart enough to get transfer DNA on that fucking sheath, or at least claiming that that's his when they get it to the lab.
Well, all this shit with Kohberger and that whole case, and then watching the Leilani Simon trial go down, has got me on this kick here lately of this thought process of, if like let's take Kohberger for instance. If it goes to trial, he's fucked. They're gonna put a bullet in him. I'm convinced of that. I do not see a situation where we live in a society where 12 people are going to disagree on executing him. If he's the one they present in front of a jury, they're going to convict him. I'm pretty well convinced of that, because I think that's unfortunately the world we live in. I don't think you can put 12 people in a room that will agree, yeah, the PCA was bullshit. They're going to agree these 4 people need justice, and this is the fucking guy that needs the bullet put in his head. And that's where the problem lies. And I like Leilani Simon's case. I don't disagree that they proved she disposed of Quentin. I don't disagree with that they proved she lied. I don't disagree with any of that. But what I 100% disagree with is in no way, shape, or form did they prove that she killed Quentin. But yet a jury convicted her of murder. And I contend that if there was a situation where there was no possibility for all this appeal and all this bullshit, and everybody quit putting the responsibility on the system, but instead put it upon themselves, and the jury that's convicting somebody to the point where if you 12 people say, yes, this person is guilty of murder, within 2 hours, that person is being executed. Will the jury convict as many times as they do now? And will they change their perception of how they look at shit? Because then it's an immediate and a serious fucking thing instead of okay, our job is just to convict. No, your job is to decide, did the state prove the fucking case?
That's the job of the defense attorney. And I don't think that I don't think people are as clever or as cut out to present a case to a jury as they suspect they might be. For instance, in the Karen Reed trial, when it opened, my opening statement and my closing statements would have shown you that the malfeasance on the actions of the law enforcement officials involved in this case paint a picture that they put on the canvas. It's not real. And I'll show you through testimony from their own mouths that the information that they used to claim that this woman killed her boyfriend was fabricated. And that's why I would have ran that case. And in the end, the one thing I would have picked up was the taillight. When the bulbs in the taillight are white and the taillight's red color gives you the red glow. And when you see that vehicle finally leaving a crime scene, so they claim, or leaving an area, a rear shot, both taillights are equally red. And that's not possible in any way, shape, or form on any vehicle made in the United States for the last 50 years. The bulbs inside that container are white. If you take the red lens away, it would show bright white. Some of us have gotten tickets for that. Some of us have seen tape inside of an auto parts store, a red color clear tape to repair taillights. So for the images that they're showing you, you'll see that when that vehicle pulls away, both rear lenses are red. But only after the police get a hold of the car is that red taillight now broken. I think it's a deficiency in communicating and understanding. You got to make this so fucking simple for the jury that an idiot can understand it. Because 99% of the people you're talking to are idiots. 99% of those people need to be shown how stupid it is what you're looking at before they'll actually even try to change their opinion. You follow me?
Yeah, I do. But I think there's got to be a situation where there's some motivation for them to want to as well, right? And like especially when it pertains to murder charges, right, where the death penalty or life in prison or fuck whatever. If I find it hard to believe that an immediate execution or immediate carrying out of a death penalty would not persuade a jury to take shit a little more seriously and look at shit into a little bit better perspective, other than, yeah, I want to see this done, or yeah, this guy got me emotionally charged more than that person did. And looking a little more at the facts. I hope there's enough humanness in people to at least do
facts, that. They have to be simplified to the stupid. They literally do. Listen, that's what I told a company that I applied to work for. And I said, my biggest skill is taking the complicated and making it simple. And that's really the way you've got to discuss things with people. When you show this Brian Kohberger case, you have to show them. All right, that's why, like she's asked, and a lot of there's a few other streamers that are very, very smart people, and they're able to assemble facts based on the situation in front of them, what they're reading, they understand, and they'll roll it around in their head, and even if they come up with a couple of different points of view, they're still able to make heads or tails of it. And when you tell me that criminals are known to turn their phones off to mask their location, that's not evidence of anything. That's just your fucking opinion, right? That's what it is. I don't want your opinion in an arrest warrant.
Right.
There's no place for that in America. I want the fact that Mr. Kohberger turned off his fucking phone before. In other words, before you actually wrote those words, there had to be evidence that you could prove that shows he turned his phone off. If you can't do that, shut the fuck up. And anybody in the audience or anybody that moves the stream to other people like that, Jeff H., that just takes, like, he's like licking the shit from the fucking government's ass and loving it, this guy. He buries his head in people's shit and wants to fucking do, well, he could have made a U-turn. He could have. People like that I don't understand why we even allow ourselves to go down that trail. When you're looking at a world, we're almost in World War III. We're like the closest we've ever been, even closer than the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And what are we all doing out here? The fuck, we're all going to get irradiated and burnt to a fucking crisp while we're on our phones. We probably won't even notice it. Just keep going on with our day. That's how fucking stupid we are.
I guess we study cockroaches because they seem to be able to survive.
Lucky them, their exoskeleton is on the outside of their body. Oh my God. No, it's just tragic and it's stressful. That's kind of why you don't see me out here much. It's one of the reasons I walked away a couple of years ago. Listen, and it's not about me thinking I'm smarter than everybody else. That doesn't even need to be discussed. It's that the overwhelming stupidity of most everybody else is just too hard to cope with. It's like, dude, it's like someone blasting a fucking those air horns at you all the time. I have a hard time reading these people's titles because they're so fucking convoluted to the actual facts of what they're going to talk about. It's like, what the fuck? Yeah, how did they get Brian Kohberger's name? They got him from the fucking cell tower dump. In my opinion, that's where they come up with Kohberger's name. It either came from a cell tower dump or some dumb fuck tipping off that he had an Elantra and not knowing any different about what year it was. Those to me are the two ways they came to Kohberger. Right?
Yeah.
I'm just, when the FBI agent that identified the car, when the police officer is asked about the car, and he says yes, and the FBI agent says, I'm much more comfortable and with the identification of that being an 11 or 13. And he tells you, just as Ann has been telling you in motions, the identification of the 14 to 16 Hyundai Elantra was taken of a car going the wrong way, on the wrong road, at the wrong motherfucking time. Believe me, a lawyer, that's the way your PCA should be written. And you fucking guys are attacking Ann and saying she's delaying the proceedings. She's the fucking jerk off. And gave you specific statements and facts that she must now show to be true. Yet these jerk offs arrested this guy in the idea, well, he must have turned his phone off. All right? You couldn't identify anything of that guy. Here's another thing. I know a way to prove if Kohberger did it. I'm just afraid to say it. You know what I mean? Because I feel like just taking the position, it's none of my fucking business. And guess what? We get what we get because we deserve it. Well, however this turns out, we earned it. And we're not seeking the truth. You all think you're seeking the truth. You're not. Half of you are trying to fucking kill the guy. The other half of you are trying to just fucking argue against that. There's a simple way this kid committed the crime. Cletus, any ideas?
A simple way that he committed it?
Sure. They would comport with the PCA.
He was already there?
No.
Well, how?
Well, here's what I would do. Okay? And you guys can do this yourself. You know who would like to do this? Would be that fucking, what's that Twitter guy? T-Talk. What's his name? It starts with a T. I got him in Discord. The map guy. Who's the guy that always talks about maps and locations and fucking cell phone pings?
Twizzle?
That's it. Twizzle. Twizzle would be the one to do this. And here's what has to happen. You have to put Kohberger in the 11 to 13 car, which means you have to put the 14 and the 13 within the general area of each other prior to the crime.
Mm-hmm.
You see?
Mm-hmm.
That's how you do that. That's the only way you're going to be able to locate Kohberger at that house with that car at that time, comporting the Dillon statements. There's no other way to do it. Okay? If you're going to use the data they've dumped into the court to accuse the guy. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, yeah. No, I mean, I see what you're saying.
Right? You have to put that 14 and 13 within a reasonable distance of one another, or absolutely no idea of the 13. That's what it's, to me, that's the only way you can get Kohberger convicted of this crime fairly. And so people could sit back and say, yep. Remember, they said the people or persons in the 11 to 13 Hyundai Elantra are not suspects in the case, but people that may have seen something that can help us solve the case. Remember what the police said, folks.
Yeah.
They said people or person. So the only way to tie Kohberger to this crime unequivocally is to put him in an 11 to 13 Elantra with somebody else in the car, which way in the beginning I kind of hinted at, but didn't think it through that much. But I said that it's possible he was the driver, But what I didn't know at that time was that the 11 to 13 is absolutely the car there. So that means Brian couldn't be the driver with Brian's car. But could the perpetrator have been in contact with Brian? Could Brian have been the driver? Could Brian have been the doer? And he was driven over there or drove over there and deposited people to commit the crime. Because look at the amount of times that car goes around that house. It's like they were looking for something. Right?
Yeah.
Were they looking for these people to come out of the house? Was it a drug deal? I don't know what happened in the house. But if you want to connect Kohberger to this case, to me, there's no other way to do it. You have to put him in that Elantra. Right?
No, I mean, that's fair.
How about the statement claimed was anyone else arrested? If that's true, and it's a rumor, but if that were true, that would then comport with this particular opinion that somewhere in his travels, his phone went cold and he got into an 11 or 13 Elantra and went over and committed this crime.
I would say if they want to convict him and convict him fairly, they dismiss the case and go back and redo it. Because one of the big problems I have is that the way it starts out with him is they get a hit on a Elantra at registered to WSU, right? A cop's driving through there. He runs the tag. It comes back to Kohberger, who just conveniently fits the description of somebody that they should have treated as a primary suspect, but failed to do so apparently.
No, they didn't fail to do so. They were following him for weeks.
No. I'm talking about Dylan. He fits the description she gave conveniently. And I'm like, that's just a fucking problem for me, because it's like a situation where y'all found a guy and made him fit what the fuck your story needed to be.
Well, let me also say that the Dylan that analysis that Dylan and Bethany were in the same room would be her exculpatory evidence, and that fits that it was an experience unique to her and only she can speak to.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That now there was I said there are weird things that happened that you need to pay attention to. That was one. The other one was a naked guy running around. Right? That's two. And the other one was the DoorDash, how it was ordered and how it was picked up, because somebody in that restaurant said that the DoorDash driver called the order in and picked it up.
Well, and I mean, at the end of the day, I think her exculpatory evidence, should it truly be exculpatory, is a matter of either there is a lie somewhere that has been told, either by Dylan or by the cops. There is a mistruth somewhere in it, because there's really no other exculpatory evidence that she could have.
Right. Well, she could have said she saw a Hispanic man out front naked, or a black man. That would be exculpatory and unique to her, right? Or her statement contradicts Dylan's.
Right.
And so they're going to come back and say, well, were you awake the entire time she was with you that night? You did just say that you went to sleep together, right? Mm-hmm. And she may come back and say, well, I don't know if she left the room or not. So that leaves a little room. But why didn't Dylan present that about leaving the downstairs and going upstairs into her room and then hearing stuff? Her story could have been much, much more concise and and matched up to Bethany's by simply saying, I went back up to my room to get my pillow. Came back down, and up there I heard a noise or something, and I just went back downstairs. And then a little bit later, I heard another noise. I thought something in my room fell. You know what I mean? She could have made a story based on that particular reality that would be concisely related to her going up into her bedroom upstairs and not having to come up with this frozen shock face, standing in the doorway, clad in black. Her story doesn't make no fucking sense, and it never did. And it never explained the 8 hours. Now, the 8 hours is much more explainable if these two girls are downstairs and they're hearing fucking chaos. And they're afraid to come out of their room. And then they call someone over to come clear the house before they come flying out of their bedroom. Or it would also comport with the fact that people claimed the front door was open before any police came. Maybe they both fucking fled in fear, right? Mm-hmm. So there's dozens of other ways that this situation could have been explained that aren't. We're left with what they gave us, and what they gave us does not equate to Kohberger being the doer, not by their words. But again, I still suggest that he could, in fact, still be the killer. But we can just rest assured, not based on the fucking cops analysis. I mean, this guy's sticking his hand in a fucking in a barbecue grill. He's standing in a bonfire talking about water. What the fuck, bro? You're on fire. This ain't water. You ain't swimming, you dickhead. What the fuck, bro? Yeah, so that's just got me going, you know, and there's a lot of potential explanations, but in the end, it comes down to what did they show us? What is the evidence? And is it verifiable? And the answer is no. None of it's verifiable.
Yeah.
Even the DNA, you can just ignore that fucking shit. Ignore it. Because even that's subjected to fucking analysis, a statistical analysis, and a machine or a human being making the decision on what looks better than the next, what better fits this than that. And I'd hate for my life to hang on a thread like that. Some scientific fucking, I mean, look what we just went through with science. All these jerk offs. I believe in science. You ought to believe, just stay home. Don't believe in anything, you fucking idiots. Believe in God, believe in spirituality, believe in whatever that comes into the fucking, you know, whatever, and leave the rest of the shit around for thinking about, talking about, figuring out.
Well, it's, you know, it's just, it's kind of the way of the world now. We trust technology more than ourselves.
Oh.
We fucking rely on it. And if it says Kohberger did it, well, then fuck anything else. That must make it true.
Right.
You know, never mind. Nobody fucking went and nobody did anything to fucking identify him until they fucking went and swabbed his cheek at the time they arrested him.
But that
disregard all of that, right?
She's arguing that swab is in it. That's the best thing about what Ann's doing. I'm telling you, I could have wrote what she did 2 years ago just by reading the PCA. There was nothing in the PCA that was evidence of a crime. He was a good person to look at, a good person of interest. There's no question about it. But why didn't you, if you followed him around for 2 weeks and you know he went there and he went here and he was there and he was there, he was at work, why didn't you ask the guy questions?
Yeah.
Because you know why they didn't ask him questions, Cletus?
Why?
Because he became their target.
I would agree.
He was not a suspect in a crime. He was going to be the crime's primary target, to be the culprit.
Yep.
And so anybody that wants to keep resting their head on fucking particle DNA from skin cells, okay, just realize that resting on that means that your head is irrevocably fucking impossibly unattached. It can't be unattached from your ass. It's so deep in your ass that it ain't ever coming out.
And imagine that if they had gone and talked to him, right, and he had said he was at a park. Now they've got to go fucking vet that.
Not even that. Imagine the 2013 Elantra they found crashed not far from there. Yeah. Didn't even look at that.
Yeah. I'm just saying, like, that is a really good point. If they had have talked to him and anything he had said, right, they would have had to have built their case against prior to writing a PCA, prior to making an arrest. But no, I mean, it is what it is. I can't see it any other way than you can either.
Well, here, look. Why don't you put a camera on the dumpster? Right? Put a camera on a pole near the dumpster or on the fucking fence. Nobody would think twice about it. Or put it on an apartment building. And when Brian walked out and put his trash in the dumpster, you immediately call the fucking dump truck to come, or the garbage truck come get the whole dumpster.
Yeah. Take
it away. Listen, just take it away and replace it with the same size container, right? Yeah. Now you got access to that fucking dumpster with Brian Kohberger's DNA in it.
Yeah.
That's not an extreme thing to do. That's being clever.
Yeah.
Right? How about going up to his apartment door and swabbing the fucking keyhole and the doorknob and the door handle and the side of swabbing the fucking thing while he's at work? What? You can't do that? Why can't you?
Because it makes too much fucking sense, but it requires effort.
Rhea is saying, my gut feeling tells me that's the car. I don't know what car you're talking about, but if you're referring to Kohberger's car being what they identified, you could just throw that shit out the window. The FBI agent, the fucking cop that wrote the report, all have said that that's an 11 to 13 Elantra. So there's just The car around that house has got to be completely taken out of the equation, but you can't take it out. Oh, no DNA in his car is ridiculous. Okay. But here's the thing. You can't separate the car from the crime scene, Cletus, because of Dylan.
Right.
Right? That's the quagmire that they're stuck in now. You can't have one without the other. Her and their so-called argument about the time of the crime from 4 a.m. to 4:20, and I'm not going to let anybody tell me that it's any different than that, because that's what's in the fucking accusatory instrument.
Mm-hmm.
You can't tell me 4:25 or 4:30. Fuck you. 4 a.m. to 4:20, and that car parked at 4:07 and left by about 4. Well, it left at 4:20. Right? So from 4:07 to 4:20, you got 13 minutes to commit this crime. And those 13 minutes were confirmed by downloads from Bethany and Dylan's phone. Therefore, that fucking car, if you're making, you can't separate the car now from the crime. Right?
Yeah.
So if it's not Brian Kohberger's car, what do you got? I don't give a fuck if you found Brian Kohberger's fucking picture in the fucking house at this point. What do you got? If that car is the car, because you're saying it is, because Dylan's timeline coincides with this video coverage of a car, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know, bro. It's like arguing with me. You're making fucking chocolate cake and the fucking batter is yellow. I don't know. How do I accept that you're making a chocolate cake if the batter is yellow? That sounds right.
Well, and see, here's the ultimate problem. And this is why I've been thinking about the whole jury process and what they're instructed to do and this and that, is because we're sitting here having this discussion and it sounds like it's a defense against whether or not he did it. And that's not the fucking decision they've got to decide. They've got to decide, did the prosecution prove beyond a reasonable doubt? And the fucking timeline and the car and what they provided is the reasonable doubt that they can't fucking go back on. And that's what you're saying, right? But that's where the problem comes in, is I don't have faith that 12 people will sit in a room and look at it as reasonable doubt, as opposed to, well, he had to have been the guy or he couldn't have been the guy.
But their whole case hinges on Dylan's statements in the car.
Yeah.
So let's just throw that in the garbage. So now what do we got? A crime scene that was investigated by people in blue jeans and windbreakers, looking for the most specific, the most critical fucking elements of the crime. Fingerprints, DNA, and hard evidence. And blue jeans and booties that they're walking in and out of the fucking house with, that then somehow come across the most improbable fucking location in the world, a DNA cells from dead skin inside of the button snap of a knife. And then they determined that proves that Brian Kohberger committed this crime, a crime that he committed based on the evidence of the car and Dylan, which we now know don't apply. Therefore, the DNA is useless. That's the other thing. Transfer DNA was called the clown show of DNA. And there's finally people coming out saying this, prominent people. You literally look like fucking Pigpen from Charlie Brown. All of us do as we walk around. You lose 5 billion skin cells a day. So that means to me that knife sheath is just nothing. It's a happenstance. It's like the worst. This bad luck should be nicknamed Brian Kohberger. Okay, you're having a Brian Kohberger day. Right? You know, Murphy's Law, it should be Kohberger's Law. We ought to create a new law in reference to, if, any bad luck can happen, you're having a Kohberger day. What do you think?
No, that's fair. That's fair.
And for this guy Twizzle, he needs to kind of put the times of where they did identify Kohberger's car and where they have video and the times of video of what they claim to be the potential car that committed the crime. So they see a car coming out of Indian Hills. Is there any other videos within that time frame or within that area that could have been an 11 to 13? Do they find one where Brian's phone turned off, where it went offline? Is there any imagery of a vehicle that isn't Kohberger's, but it isn't Elantra? Is there any over where they finally picked the phone up? Is there any imagery of an Elantra?
Is there any imagery of how the fuck he got there?
That's what I'm saying. The only way for Brian to have done this based on the Keystone Cops is he got into another car.
Yeah.
And that car happened to be an 11 to 13 Elantra, which if you guys want to plan a perfect crime, this is almost fucking beyond perfect. Think about that, right? Right? Then you do leave a little skin cells intentionally with the knife sheath there. And you watch how these Keystone Cops try to actually pretend like, well, no, we never used the DNA. That was your whole case, stupid. And you created a story around this fucking idea that Kohberger's the doer, but the story doesn't match the timeline. And the Twizzle is in there. All right, I'm going to give him an invite. You want to come up here for a minute there, Twizzle? I know you like the fucking notoriety, you little prick.
Said you little prick.
Come on, get your ass in here, Twizzle. Twizzle me this, twizzle me that. Yeah, of all the people on fucking on Discord, he actually responded to me, but he had reasons why he couldn't talk. He could only do it by typing. Can't. I'm about to walk out the door. Ha ha. Yeah. Well, don't trip. I hope he does. What's that, Cletus?
I didn't.
No. I said I hope he don't. I don't trip. I hope he does. Cletus.
You leave it for me to follow up. I see how you are.
Yeah. So
if he does, don't fucking fall into an Elantra. How about that?
Yeah, especially between years 11 and fucking 2320. Okay, cover yourself for the next fucking 100 years, couple 100 years. Yeah, it's mind numbing that these people that have put together the reflections, right? So you got the Judes and the bubbly waters and all of these fucking people trying to tie all these people to the case, right? And how the fuck do you create a story? Did someone else do it? I don't know if someone else did it. I don't know if Brian Kohberger did or didn't do it. I can just rest my head on their statements. Don't mean nothing. They don't prove he did. As a matter of fact, their statements are exculpatory 100%, because everything they identify, they connect to Kohberger, puts him somewhere else. It's the most mind-numbing thing I've ever seen. But actually, it's been eye-opening, and just watching how all of these streamers, right, come up with these different titles. I'm going to put in Idaho 4, see what we got. Idaho 4. What do we got here? What happened to this? What happened to the 4 students murdered in their bed? Evidence leading to Brian Kohberger in the Idaho 4 case. Someone's got evidence. It's Kendall Ray. Good for her. He could face it. Demands judge throw out evidence in murders. And I was going to touch on this. Look, if the probable cause affidavit is unverifiable, right?
Mm-hmm.
And all you have is transfer DNA to connect him to any, not the crime, but to connect him to the crime scene.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Then you don't have a basis to get a warrant to search this guy and even take his DNA.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
So based on what evidence do you have that this guy's the doer? So when she says to throw them all out, it's what I said in the beginning. That's what attracted me to this case. When I read that PCA, it instantly reminded me of robbing that apartment for guns and getting away with it, even though my fingerprints were left behind. Because there was nothing in this argument they made against this kid that was evidentiary based, that was solid. Right? So if you get someone robbing a bank, there's an image of them. There's a picture of them. There's something that you can rest your hat on and say, I need a warrant now to do more work into this person. And in the Kohberger case, that PCA provides none of that. And let me tell you how you know that that's absolutely accurate, is when all these jerk-offs got on the mainstream media telling you that was the most comprehensive, concisely written PCA they'd ever seen. That told me they never even knew what a PCA. Those 3 letters never came into their brain in their entire life. They had no idea what they stood for. But probable cause, folks, everybody acts like that's no big deal. It is a big deal. A cop can't walk up to your car and can think that you got drugs in the trunk and then take you out of the car, cuff you, and open your trunk. Something as simple as that can't be done because there's no probable cause. Even smelling weed coming out from a vehicle, if you walk up to a vehicle, that isn't probable cause to search the vehicle, so they're supposed to ask. How about when cops walk around cars or they bring their fucking drug dog with them and they walk up to cars where they got a roadblock and they're doing fucking sobriety checks, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the dog smells a drug. That's not probable cause to search the car. Supreme Court ruled on that. People seem to think probable cause is nothing. That it's and that's because you've been educated that way by the fucking the idiot box and these NCISs and these FBI and all these fucking true crime shows. And then we come out here and we think we're true crime experts and we're really not.
Well, we've been trained by people that couldn't come up with better ways to do their job, so they just reprogrammed the people that they produced a product to.
Somebody said, according to BT, the PCA is irrelevant at this point. Oh, Bill Thompson. Yeah. He wants to look beyond that because the PCA, folks, the PCA is the recipe for that chocolate cake. Okay. And I'm bringing it because I did make a chocolate cake. I cut it in half, put pudding in the middle. I got it now frosted, just so you know. Old Sarge is a baker too. Dude, I go to the, like, this stream is probably going to run over. Whether you stay or not, it's up to you. But I just try to stay away. I just can't take it. And it's probably because there's something wrong with me. I just cannot continue to come out into this environment of social media, like even with the election. You know, I said 30 to 40% of the blacks would vote for Trump and 33% did. And it's not because I'm smarter than anybody else. That's the sad part. I mean, I keep rubbing in everybody's face I'm smarter than you, but the truth of the matter is I'm not smarter than you. I just pay attention to things that you don't even know to look at. I go listen to the blacks. How many times did I come on here telling me I was in the black streams?
Mm-hmm.
Right? How are you going to know what people are doing unless you mingle with them? And so Trump won the election. Where did he win the election? What did I say? It was a potato chip election. Okay?
He won it in places where potato chips were $3 a bag.
Yeah, he did. He did. There was the biggest swing to the right in all of the fucking Democratic strongholds than there's ever been ever. Now, I thought that would mean he'd win states like Virginia and Illinois and New York. However, it didn't mean that. What it did mean was that they swung so far to him. Like, I think New York, he swung at 12 points. Illinois, he swung at like 17 points or something. It's crazy how many people that voted Democrat swung to Trump.
Yeah.
And that's why he won the election. Now, the next time through, if he does this properly and he does what he's promised and he sets up Vance properly, then there should be no more. Very few blue states. The blue states are going to be the Ben and Jerry state with those two fucks, and the Gavin Newsom state, and some other states that don't require voter ID. But if he does his job and they pass the Congress passes a law that all voting in federal elections must be accompanied by a United States fucking ID. You must be a citizen. If they pass that law, then every one of those blue states are in danger of being taken. I guarantee you they're going to start canceling motor voter registration for these. That's what happens in these states. They got motor voter. You register a car, you register for a license, they automatically sign you up to vote. Did you know that, Cletus?
Mm-hmm.
So that shit will go. So if Trump does what he's supposed to do, there's no reason to see a Democrat in office for quite some time. Because what people did realize that it's not being said out loud, the Democrats wondering why they lost. Well, it's pretty easy, you stupid cocksuckers. You lost because you're giving all our money to foreigners. And even worse, you're dragging all of them into our country and still paying them. It's not just foreign nations you're giving our money to. It's strangers that come from different lands across the globe that you're giving our $3,000 a month to. Meanwhile, we're all fucked up from the floor up, and a bag of chips is fucking $3. Right?
Oh. Time for some one-handed applause, Sarge. Time for some.
Somebody needs a fucking one-handed applause. Look at that. So this guy, let's see what Carl says. I haven't read it. Oh yeah. They're just human beings like us. I don't even like the reason I even mentioned fucking color is because that's all the Democrats mention. It seems to be what people pay attention to. But nobody that I know of that was streaming the election or the polls and stuff. It wasn't until election day. Just be aware, folks. I was the only fucking moron out there yelling what I was yelling about how the election would be won and how these Democrat states are going to swing towards Trump in a big way. And it was only when after people were voting, they do a vote. They ask people as they leave the fucking polling house, exit polls. Okay. Exit polls are polls that are taken after a voter has voted. Okay. They're considered the most accurate. Well, yeah. Okay. Asshole. Of course they're going to, they pride themselves on saying these are the most accurate. Well, of course they are, you jerk off. The guy just voted. He knows what he voted. Right. What about the polls before the election that y'all got wrong? Yeah. Anyway, so the election polls came out and they confirmed what I was saying the whole time. And I'm not just saying, look, there's probably other people out there that were saying that, but I didn't come across any of them. And none of these big pollsters, the Rasmussens and all of them, did they predict Trump would win? They did, but I don't even think most of those people realized that his coalition grew by the contents. The new people are poor. The poor people that have been programmed to hate Trump. 33% of that group, and this could be even more of the Hispanics and Asians, but those groups of poor broke out of the fucking bubble they were trapped in, where Trump was the enemy. They couldn't believe their lying eyes anymore. What do you mean the guy down the streets? There's fucking all of these people coming in that don't speak English. They closed their school to give them housing, and they're giving these guys $3,000 a month. That's what brought the poor out to Trump. Both Republicans and Democrats are analyzing what happened here. There's nothing to analyze. It's pretty fucking simple, dude. Whoever couldn't afford a bag of chips, okay, and was pissed off about that, went and voted for Trump. Next. The same thing with the Kohberger case. There's nothing that was ever, there was nothing ever stated. There was no allegations, really, but nothing ever stated that connects Brian Kohberger to that crime scene between 4 a.m. and 4:20 a.m. Nothing but a hope and a prayer. And what looks to be, and I've always tried to stay away from blaming the cops for setting him up. I don't know if you've noticed that. Mm-hmm. I call it tunnel vision. I give them the benefit of the doubt. And to that guy that let a fucking clock land on his mother that thinks that I hate cops. Okay, you stupid fucking cop. Okay, I don't hate cops. I give cops the benefit of the doubt because they're doing a job under terrible fucking circumstances. But in this case, like in many others, these Keystone fucking cops put together a case against someone that they were told to put it together, which is no better than doing it out of your own thoughts, right? If your boss tells you, go set that protester on fire. No, motherfucker, you grabbed the fucking guy that told you that. You have the right to remain silent. You cuff his ass.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's what cops are supposed to do. They're not... If your boss is a crook, if your boss is a liar, if your boss is giving you orders that aren't constitutional, you put him under arrest, not me, the guy he's pointing to. Yeah, we're a long way from fixing this country. Nobody voted for Harris. Yeah, and Harris almost wins the popular vote, but that's because she got like 12 million votes out of California.
That's just because it's the leading name in 2024 for a dog.
Yeah, that's it. I do want to name my dog Kamala. I'm glad you remembered that. I've been looking to see what kind of a dog I want. I definitely want a dog that doesn't shed but has regular hair. Like, so I might be looking at a standard poodle. And they're smart and they're a good sized dog. I don't know if you've seen them.
A poodle?
A standard poodle.
A standard poodle.
Yeah, the back of the dog will come up almost to your waist.
Oh.
Yeah. They're a dog, bro. They're not them little tiny fucking things you put in the purse.
No. Well, I figured you would want a tiny one or at least one with an annoying yipper so that it fucking matches the name.
I want one that can actually take one of them yipper dogs out in one bite. And then look at me. Is there any more? Yeah. Kamala. Yeah, Kamala Harris. Kamala would be a nice name for a pet. I seriously believe that.
Yeah.
Right? I wouldn't give my kid that name.
I'd name a reptile that all day.
Right here. We gotta go get a lizard and call it Kamala.
Yeah, or a snake. I mean, it would be real fitting. Seems to be fitting.
That might not be a bad fucking idea, bro. It may not be a bad idea. I mean, here the Democrats. So they fucked Bernie Sanders in 2016. They fucked everybody else in 2020 to give us Biden, right? Then they fucking cheated in the election and they got Biden in. Then Biden turns out to be the stumbling, bumbling fucking idiot that he's always been, and people noticed it. Geez, really? And they throw him under the bus, and they stick Kamala in. And yet people in the Democratic Party still stick with the Democratic Party. Where's democracy in those series of events? And they're the ones that are saying we gotta vote for Kamala to protect democracy. This bitch was installed by somebody you don't even know. You don't know anything about this broad. Where the fuck she come from? Why is she the candidate after Biden stepped down? And I said that before. He don't like the people in control of the party, this guy Biden. And I think he threw Kamala out there to fuck with him. I mean, where were the Obamas out there on that? With the Hillarys? There wasn't a huge push even from politicians to get her elected, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where were the hundreds of senators and congressmen running to their districts screaming, you got to vote for her? They were all hiding too. I mean,
the only person they could find to stick with her was one that, what did you say, wanted tampons put in boys' bathrooms in his home state. Yeah.
He was the only guy idiotic enough not to know any better. That was his claim to fucking fame.
Yeah.
He was just dumber than her, which is another analysis people have made. You always try to pick a vice president that's dumber than you. And Biden was Obama's, right? And Harris was fucking Biden's. I don't think Trump has done that, to be very honest with you. I almost think that this kid is smarter than Trump, this kid Vance.
Well, time will tell.
Time will tell. But in the interactions I've seen him with, he's more open-minded than Trump on things like psychedelic drugs to be used with people that have PTSD from wars and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And he's open to all a bunch of stuff that you wouldn't think. And I don't think it's just he's just going along with it to get because nobody even talking about that interview with Rogan. But to me, that was an eye-opening interview about what he was like as a person. It was. I never read his autobiography, but I like to hear people speak and then be asked a question. Like Joe didn't put him on the spot, but Joe did give him some questions that he handled real well. So,
yeah,
for 4 years, that's hopefully the guy we got to deal with. And what the fuck, Cletus? Poor Brian Kohberger.
Yeah. Well, hey, I'm gonna have to jump down, but I got to leave you with an inappropriate joke that I thought would be fucking right up your alley the other day.
All right, my alley is wide.
So, you take your girl, you put her on the floor, right?
Mm-hmm.
Get on her right side. You kneel down on her right side. You lean over. If you put your ear on your right ear on her stomach, you can hear the ocean. If you put your left ear on her stomach, you can smell the ocean.
It's all about being home, baby.
And with that, I'm out.
All right, we'll talk to you.
See you.
Netflix made his autobiography into a movie. Yeah, I think Vance may end up being he may be a stellar politician. I think Trump giving him the path to the presidency may prove to be the best thing Trump ever did, in all fairness. Because just because. And I get a kick out of and I want to say this. Am I a lawyer? No. Have I acted on behalf of my own interest as a lawyer? Yeah. Have I ever faced consequences based on that action? No. Every time I acted on behalf as my own representative in a court of law, I won. Every single fucking time. So no, I'm not a lawyer. But common sense goes a long way to understanding that law. And when you understand that the government is limited in their ability to interact with you, that's what the limits in the Constitution are. They're not fucking rights. I have free speech, motherfucker. You cannot interfere with it. That's it. I can own a gun, motherfucker, and you cannot interfere with that. That's what the Constitution is. I have a right to privacy, motherfucker, and you can't interfere with that. That's what your Constitution is. When someone tells you got a right to tell them to shut the fuck up. You don't have a right. The government has no right to interfere with that. It's a given. You're a living, breathing, thinking, fucking sentient being. You're free. And you decided that you would still need a government to organize the operation of a nation. And that's what they're supposed to be focused on. Our defense, right? And to help promote prosperity and you know, a more perfect union, all that other bullshit. But they are not allowed to infringe upon your speech. There was just a case in front of the Supreme Court that got kicked because these Republicans that pretend like they're on your side and care about your issues took them 50 years to put a correct case, or the correct argument together to get in front of the Supreme Court. That argument they put together is the argument I had for years, and I'm not a lawyer. It was never about anything more than the federal government could not enact that kind of a fucking law, demanding all states and forcing all states to perform this fucking procedure of abortion. That was the argument. That's always been the argument. And the fact of the matter is the government didn't do it. You, the court, did. The argument was always about the court. And so, you know, 50 years to overturn that? Are you fucking insane? I think now they're making rulings on guns that are just knocking them out of the fucking park. He is the most touch. I think he's the most touch politician. I don't know what that means. Great Pearl. But in the Kohberger case, folks, I just find it. If anybody wants to jump up here, you're welcome. I put the link there in the stream. Whether you're on X, I don't know if you can see it on X. I can put it in X if there's a chat room. Is there? Yeah. There's 50 people in X. Paste. You can actually, if you have a microphone, you can join coming in through StreamYard if you'd like. In touch, the most in touch, relatable. Okay, that's cool. I got you. Sorry about that. I misspelled, understood what you said there. I personally govern myself. Everyone should try it. Exactly. You're your own fucking king, right? And you live in your own kingdom. All right. I just want to get back a little bit into the Kohberger because that's really kind of the politics drives me crazy. But so does the plethora of people that don't want to question the government's actions. And in any case, you're supposed to always fight for another American. And that doesn't mean that, you know, some guy like that guy went around bombing people. If somebody is clearly guilty because there's enough evidence that was collected constitutionally, meaning it was collected by following the rules that the government must follow, then yeah, execute that person. Carry out to the fullest extent whatever that law allows, and move on to the next case. But these prosecutors, it's all turned into a numbers game. Like people know Kamala Harris put 1,500 black men in jail for small quantities of marijuana. You know, she walked around like she was the big badass, and she ended up becoming senator of that state. I'm the big badass prosecutor. Well, how many of those people, were properly accosted by the police, were properly searched, were properly processed, right? That's what they don't want you to look at. That's why this Kohberger case has been going for so long. It's got nothing to do with what Brian wants you to see. Brian wants to get up on a fucking stage with a top hat and a fucking cane and tap dance and tell you the story. But he can't do that. And so you got all of these statements coming out from the town, the fucking prosecutor's office, this guy's office, that guy's office, the fucking cops, this guy. And you have nothing. It's like I've said before with the Epstein case. I don't want to know who's on his island. It's not illegal to have sex. I don't even give a fuck if you're having sex with every fucking gender out there. Okay? While standing on your fucking head. I don't want to know. As long as what you're doing sexually isn't violating the person's right to say no, it's not rape, and they're not underage. It's not pedophilia. There's very few restraints I put on people's sexuality choices. And if you want to go to a tropical fucking island and gang bang your fucking brains out, and you could get private jets in and go ahead. I mean, come on, folks. What happens after you own everything? I mean, when have we ever had better, more lasting fucking, and it doesn't last long enough, an orgasm, right? But when have you ever felt that much of intensity and pleasure? There you go. So, of course, when you don't have to worry about paying the fucking bill or paying for a pound of fucking bologna, other things become options. And so long as you maintain the morality and the dignity of other human beings that you engage with, then I say the sky's the limit. Right? So that's why I don't want to know who was on Epstein's island, unless, of course, their behavior on the island was criminal. Same thing with Diddy. I don't want to know who was at his house. It's none of my fucking business, first of all. It's drama. Unless the person's actions at the house were participating in some kind of crime to another human being. Then and only then, do I demand to know what you did to my fellow citizen. Did you rape them? Did you drug them? Did you do something to them underage? Did you lure them? See, now we're talking about you violated another human being that's an American, and you need to be fucking held to account for that. But I don't want to disparage everybody that's ever been to that guy's house. That's why I say we don't need to know who was in his home unless charges are brought, unless evidence is shown. And you can run around in your head thinking, oh, Beyonce must have done this stuff too. And this one, I mean, who the fuck needs to have that empty shit in your fucking brain? Figure out how to go faster than the fucking speed of light. Figure out how to feed people in soil that's fucking underdeveloped. That doesn't have, find something else to fucking think about, in other words. Instead of all this happy horse shit we get caught up with. Yeah, see, Carl thinks the firmament is the limit. Carl is very, very limited. If Carl had a glass head, it would be a fucking, there'd be a pea floating around the side of a big body of liquid. It's Turkey Eve, people are saying. It's Bird Eve. Bird Eve, it ain't. Gobble, gobble. Yeah, so tomorrow's Turkey Day. But with Kohberger filing all these motions, I'd like to know anything in that PCA, what anybody considers is evidence of his presence. That's what I'd like to see. I don't see anything in the PCA that places him at the crime. And let me just say, folks, this genealogy stuff shouldn't even have been mentioned in the fucking warrants. The genealogy stuff shouldn't even have been brought to the attention of a court. Okay? The court should have been more considerate with, how do you know he turned his phone off? Well, he stopped reporting to the network. Well, okay. That doesn't mean he turned it off to mask his location. Where do you next see him? I would have been very hard on the police. I just wouldn't have signed off on that probable cause warrant. I would have demanded evidence to show besides this, and even if you showed me this transfer DNA, I'd want to understand what that meant, and then I would also then start questioning everything you're claiming in that PCA, because none of it, right? You're telling me, here's the thing, did they present to the grand jury that suspect vehicle 1 belongs to Kohberger, and it's on a camera around that house 5 different times? Is that what they presented to the grand jury? Because that's not accurate. The car around the house wasn't his. And let me just say this too, folks. Sometimes I get to be inaccurate because I go against the fucking plethora of all of you out there making an argument one way or another. When you say to me that the cops misidentified the car around the house, but the car that they did identify is accurate, then I don't believe you. And I immediately entrench myself in the argument that, nope, you're wrong. You're making an assumption. We know by hook, by crook, that the car around the house is 11 by 13. We know that to be true because it was stated to us to be true. You're interpreting the identification of a 14 to 16, which Ann clearly told us was from a different place. You're now thinking, and you're taking those 2 different cars, rather than accept that there's 2 different IDs of 2 different Elantras. Rather than accept that, you got to say the FBI guy made an inaccurate fucking estimation the first time. It's incredible, man. If you read other PCAs that are written by those at MPD the month prior or after, well, it's probable cause for an arrest is what that is. So in my jurisdiction, they call them an accusatory instrument. The accusatory instrument outlines a particular crime you're being accused of and the facts that support this accusation. That's what probable cause is, folks. It isn't this big mystery fucking thing where you could duck and hide and keep secrets. And I mean, the fuck, 4 people were murdered. And you couldn't be any more specific than his phone stopped reporting to the network and you had no idea where he was for 2 hours. Right? The way they lay out the facts, they do try to lay it out in a way that draws a straight line. Or they try to lay it out in a circle, the lines connect. I get that, Heather. But nothing in this particular PCA was evidence of a crime. The phone itself not reporting or being turned off is no evidence of being connected to that crime scene. The fact that you absolutely cannot connect him to that house by imagery or by phone, and then you lay your hat on the 11 to 13 that was identified and start calling that suspect vehicle 1, that's just heinous. That's heinous. That's just an overt act of violating the constitutional limits placed upon you by we, the people. Right? They had no business calling that car suspect vehicle 1 because leading you to believe that it was Kohberger's car. Now, let me be clear. Suspect vehicle 1 is an accurate fucking depiction of the car that was caught on camera at the times that they claim it was. That's accurate. That is suspect vehicle 1. Okay. Why is it suspect vehicle 1? Well, because when we checked with Dylan and Bethany and in the house at the crime scene, when we did that, we came up with a timeline between 4 and 4:20 a.m. And we know that this car showed up and didn't leave. It showed up at 4:07, went around the buildings and parked somewhere. We don't know where, but it parked. It didn't leave again until 4:20 a.m. Right? Yeah, there you go. You're right. They're telling you a conspiracy theory. It's a theory of what happened and the images that they've collected. And here's the sad part, folks, is that I don't object. I don't object at all to the assemblage of the data that then shows Kohberger involvement. I don't have a problem with that. My problem rests in that when they continued on down this fucking road and they continued to follow this guy and observe this guy and they could find nothing more to connect him to it, that rather than do any more grunt work, they created a narrative that allowed them to get a probable cause affidavit. And then that allows them to arrest him, which then allowed them to get warrants to search him. That's where I said, go all the way back to the beginning of this. This is when I showed up in true crime. You guys never fucking knew this moron me, right? This miserable fucking prick called Sergeant Friday. You didn't even know I existed until I ended up on a fucking show, Dago, the True Crime Cafe. None of you even heard of me. You didn't know I was. Some of you in here probably know me from politics, but I was gone for 2 years. I came back on this fucking nightmare because of that probable cause affidavit. Where does it show Kohberger committed that crime? And let me promise you this, folks. I promise you that if they did not enter, do not use the genealogy or whatever they said in approving this warrant because they were concerned it could be a problem down the road, right? Take that out. Take that out and throw it away. Take those words, take that statement about DNA completely out of the application for the warrant, right? Because now what are you left with? Fuck the DNA. What are you left with? You're left with the allegations in the PCA that are unverifiable and factually untrue. And yet you guys allowed yourselves to be drawn in by the statement of DNA. You allowed that to suck you in. You allowed that to convince yourself or to believe, okay, and information, which you're never supposed to do, but you began to believe in Brian's guilt. And it's not that hard when people believe to claim there's fucking imagery of Mother Teresa in a tree. I mean, think about this. If you're devoutly, once you believe something, folks, you believe in something, you can accept without any argument certain things that if you examine them would make no sense, but you don't spend the time to examine them because you already have a belief in this guy's guilt. That's what makes a whole bunch of people dumb fucks. Right? You believe in the democratic process. Your own eyes are fucking showing you that the Democratic Party is a Marxist fucking criminal party. Your eyes are seeing that. Your brain is ignoring it because you believe in being a Democrat. Yeah, some network, the media began pushing, but not really examining it, okay? That's the other catch-22. They didn't break that down, and the DNA also put a spell over them. Once people hear the thing DNA, a spell just comes all over them. Okay, that's like me telling you, you found my fucking fingerprints on the hinges of a door that was opened. Okay, and the apartment behind that door was robbed. You wouldn't be wrong to immediately assume I committed the crime. You just wouldn't be wrong thinking that. Okay, because they're fingerprints. And in essence, when someone says DNA, you think that there was semen, there was blood, there was spit, there was something there. But that's not, we learned later, that's not the issue in this case. Because even I hesitated. I read the PCA, and then when I said they had DNA, when I read that they had DNA, that caught me for a loop. That stopped me. And I had to sit back and think about that. And, you know, it's kind of silly that we all allow ourselves to go down this road. It's even more silly how established attorneys are going after Ann Taylor on her motions to dismiss. What is the other word? She's trying to get them motions to suppress, because the motions to suppress are absolutely fucking perfect. Like I said early on, the PCA is exculpatory. It clearly screams exculpatory more than inculpatory. Inculpatory meaning evidence that he did it. So take the PCA, forget about DNA, and read the PCA. And every statement made in the PCA places Brian Kohberger nowhere near the home. Every fucking statement. That's what disturbed me in the beginning. His phone stopped reporting to the network at 2:47 a.m. But you're saying the crime took place between 4 and 4:20 a.m. His phone reported to the network at 4:48 a.m. approximately in Blaine, Idaho. 11-mile drive that it reported to the network 28 minutes after the crime. It was only an 11-minute drive, but it took 28 minutes for the fucking phone to come back online. Okay, so you're placing this guy nowhere near the house at 2:47 and nowhere near the house at 4:48. What more evidence do I need the guy wasn't at the house? What more do I need? You can make all the fucking jerk-off statements you want about that phone. But the only thing we do know is that it wasn't at the house at 2:47 and it wasn't at the house at 2:48, and they don't know where it was any other time during that period. That's all they know. That doesn't mean the guy committed the crime. For you to accept that is a level of ignorance beyond understanding. Then when they claimed that the suspect vehicle wasn't going around that house, early on December 7th, they told you what the fucking car was. And then they arrest the guy that owns a 2015 for you not to stop and say, wait a minute. That's not what you told us you were looking for. And then people, well, they were probably just trying to not tip off the murderer that they knew what his car was. Then why say anything about a car at all? Right? That's the natural that'd be a smart fucking question to ask, and you don't even got to be that smart. Why would you come forward with such a specific year, make, model vehicle and ask us to help you find it if that's you're trying to throw the fucking perpetrator off? That don't make no sense. You want to throw the perpetrator off? You shut the fuck up. Same thing with the knife sheath. We should never have known. If you wanted to be a smart investigator, there's certain pieces of evidence you want to keep to yourself, especially before the arrest, right? It's pretty fucking sad. Remote viewing, all of it. Who's doing remote viewing? PI, what is PI? I'm not catching all your chat, but I definitely want to try to follow what you're saying. when you say it like that, I can't help but laugh because it really is ridiculous, plain and simple. Remote viewing, Hemisync. Any chance Rory and I can get you as a guest on panel on Thou Shall Not Kill? Nah. Rory knows me. I used to be on his panel all the time. And Rory was supposed to contact me months ago when he came back. Okay? And he never did. And it's not that I dislike Rory or I'm mad at Rory or anything, but Rory and I had a conversation completely unrelated to this case, and it was totally focused on some Paramount pictures that he was a part of. And I don't want to be a part of that. I told him that before it ever came out, and I told him that after it came out. Okay, Terry? So if Rory wants to have a conversation with me, he's welcome. He has my fucking personal phone number. Somebody tried coming out the other day saying, I know for a fact that Thanksgiving was always the third Thursday of every month and blah, 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 blah. And they're giving you that this something else has happened. But I for a second thought, yeah, I kind of remember something about that. And I went and looked, and it was considered the third Thursday of November, but it had later been moved to the 4th. What did Green Heights say? Much better than drama. What are we talking about there? I don't know about all these wormholes and stuff. CERN, the summer of 22. But I'm glad you asked, Terry, because when I was in people's chat rooms, that's actually how true crime got to know me. Is I would post this, I'd have to type this stuff, and then I just don't want to get into the argument of who did what, the grub truck, the people on Banfield, like how many people remember the date of when the cops came out looking for the Elantra? Only I'm on the spectrum, an autistic like me that realizes it was December 7th, 2022 that they came forward asking for that car. And then they find out Kohberger drives a 15. I find that to be the most disgusting thing. Unless they've got an accusation placing Brian in that car. And to our understanding as of right now, there's no motion for man. There's no argument for man. There's no mention of another Hyundai Elantra. Okay? There's just none. And yet this entire investigation describes 2 different Hyundai Elantras. And the police involved, especially the guy that identified both vehicles, is standing firm that the vehicle around that house was an 11 to 13. Officer Payne, when asked if the car observed around the house was 11 to 13 Elantra, confirmed with the word yes. That immediately makes the PCA junk. Once you know that the car around the house that's being used in the accusatory instrument to arrest an American citizen isn't the car that he owns, and none of the accusatory information, you're right, green-eyed PI or Pi or whatever. Okay? Let me just say, folks, that once you realize that the car he drives isn't consistent with the year of the Elantra that was observed, your investigation should have stopped. Okay? I can imagine following him around to see if he's got any friends in 11 to 13, and if he did, getting a warrant for that car. That is why I want you on, because I agree with what you were saying. We will get in touch with you. Whatever. I don't know. If Tommy Jude is on that show, if Tommy Jude is on your panel, I won't go on that show. That sycophant motherfucker has been online telling people he's got images of 3 men pissing on fucking Ethan's face after they killed him up at the apartments. Fuck Tommy Jude and that sycophant motherfucker that he is. So if he's got anything to do with his show, don't even call. Fuck that piece of shit. He's like many of the piece of shits out here looking for clicks, for pennies. Hunting for pennies. You need fucking pennies? If you're that fucked up, make a personal fucking plea to me if you need something. I'm coming out here with his fucking happy horse shit, these drama-filled fucking unfactual fucking arguments and statements and points of view. Okay? Oh, dang, hadn't heard that one yet. I got it saved somewhere. I have to bring it up someday and play it again. I've played it on here. I've played it on my show. Okay. And yeah, well, then have Roy call me. Tell Roy he's got my direct phone number, Terry. Have him call me. And I like to stick with facts. I just don't understand how that seems to be like not important to people. Well, you know, the guys at the band field, we got pictures of this, we got pictures of that, we got this, we got this, we got that, we got ooh. Those are all, look at, everybody could be right. Somebody could have laid out some potential fucking story that they actually hit the fucking nail on the head, but we'll never know. That's the problem. When we're looking at crimes, folks, we're supposed to look at the crime. We're supposed to look at how they got to this suspect, what they have on this suspect in relation to its validity to the crime accused. And that's the most you can do as an observer. But to try to come in and solve the crime and pick people that could have done it, might have done it, should have done it, could have done it. And they did that with the poor Sebastian Rogers, that young boy that went missing. All of these people coming in to solve the fucking crime. Accused the mother, accused the fucking stepdad, accused the fucking real father. Listen, I get that's alluring, that kind of drama draws us in. I'm not like immune to it. I get drawn into that and have gotten drawn into that. Right? And that's when I know I shouldn't even be on social media. I don't want to know about who could have done it. Like I laid out a big video on how I suspect Dylan was part of the crime. Right? And I still stick that that's possible. And it fit. Here's the sad part. My view of that night, based on the timeline that the officials gave us, fits Dylan. If you want to lay out a chart, okay, of who did this, Brian Kohberger or Dylan Mortenson, I'd be happy to go toe-to-toe to you with a chart. Okay? Because I already have a leg up on you. And listen, forgive me if Dylan Mortenson has got nothing to do with this crime. I'm not saying she did it. No more am I saying that Kohberger did it. I don't know who the fuck did it. But if you wanted to get into an honest discussion about who you could build a case on, okay, a case that you could actually have a better chance in court in winning, it would be Dylan. No, I agree with you, Heather, 100%. I would too. But you know something? Then you have to wait and see, right? They have to investigate. And clearly you weren't the person involved. And everything worked out. I'm sorry your son went missing. I hope he came back. I don't know the whole story. But I hope he came back and everything is fine. I'd be offended too. I wouldn't. I'd be handing him everything. But let's get back to the Kohberger thing. Why would I say Dylan? You can make a better argument for Dylan. And I say that because she admits to being in the crime scene. Okay? We know for a fact she was there. She admits to being awake and conscious during the crimes. She says that, opening her door that many times. She admits this. No, so what I'm saying is right there. There's your prime suspect. Does that mean did it? No, it doesn't. But I can continue on down the road. The whole house there, right? And all of their friends, their associates, right? A lot of these people were connected to. I know that the most common weapon carried by a woman is a knife. That's not unarguable. Well, not a K-bar. No, it don't. Listen, a knife is a knife to a girl. She ain't getting on the internet and joining the K-Bar of America fucking forum. She's not getting on the internet and joining the fucking Corvette forum. I know. Do women own Corvettes? Sure. The majority are men. However, you don't see you see so few women in the Corvette community, even though they're Corvette owners. In other words, there is a difference between genders and how we view things and how we act in the world. And in this particular case, a knife was used. That's consistent with a woman perpetrator. The idea, well, did she go and kill all four of them? That's possible. She mentions the upstairs, not by her presence, but by what she heard. So she's cognizant of there being an upstairs, of something happening up there, right? I mean, my point is, you give me arguments for Kohberger, and I will counter them with Dylan. And in the end, an unbiased opinion audience, I guarantee you, would say his argument, Dylan did it, is stronger than your argument, Kohberger did it. Because you can't counter what I say about Dylan. That's the real problem with Dylan. You can't say, well, how do you know she was there? Well, you stupid motherfucker. She's the lead actor in the PCA. Well, how do you know she owned a knife? I don't. However, I am conscious that women more often than not carry a knife or have a knife for self-protection. Let me add to that. In a house that's just off the fucking campus, that isn't regulated by the campus, that's known to be a party fucking house, and where people are coming in and out, different guests that you may or may not know, that you may or may not decide to go in your bedroom by yourself and go to bed while there's still people in the house, that you may feel that the door lock isn't enough. And as a female in a room alone, you may feel that it's more appropriate to have some kind of protection with you, whether it be mace, whether it be a fucking stun gun or a knife. That makes perfect fucking sense, right? Now, I'm not saying any of that applies to Dylan, but this idea that some fucking genius guy created the perfect crime scene, okay, which, listen, it's still possible, but you now need to get him out of his car and into the other car. And you can't do that. You need to get him between the hours of 2:47 and 4:48 a.m. in that house, unequivocally, undeniably in the house. You can't do that. But you can place Dylan and Bethany in that fucking house. You could specifically place Dylan as an actor of the crime, and even as a victim. She's still a direct actor in the crime, not Kohberger. I don't really take the footprint in front of her door with a grain of salt. The reason I don't is they didn't see it because they didn't see it. But when they started spraying some chemical that looks for, and it wasn't necessarily luminol. I forget what it was called, black. I forget what it's called. Anyway, it's highly possible that footprint, folks, had been there, and that footprint was from stepping in the urine of a dog, okay? And that footprint was urine-based. Do you follow me? So I'm not so sure that footprint plays a role in this case, because the way they discovered the footprint isn't the standard. It is part of their toolkit, Aminio Black, right? So that could mean, thanks, Janet. See, this is some smart fucking people out there. That could mean, in my opinion, that leaves the door open. Is that footprint even related to the crime? It doesn't appear to be, because they use that particular chemical to find it. So I think that may have been just, nobody even knew that they did that, or they may have known that and they mopped and they missed that spot, or they didn't mop at all and they swept and everything else got obscured with dust, but that one wasn't touched. It depends on where it is. But my point is, it's as likely to be the remains of walking through urine that left that latent print there. To me, that makes more sense than it being blood from the victims. Now, although it could be, but they've never made that argument. So they use evidence, which is like, there's no definitive understanding of the evidence. They don't define that. In other words, his phone didn't go off the network at 2:47 a.m. And he was witnessed driving around this property. We got him on camera over here. We got a side view, and this side view of the car shows an image that's consistent with Brian Kohberger's profile. See, they don't have anything in that time period of when the crimes took place. And what they have afterwards is more exculpatory evidence that he wasn't at the house. Even worse, when they claimed that his phone was at the house the next morning at 9:30 a.m. or 9 a.m. till 9:32 a.m., they come forward and admit that that's not accurate. That didn't happen. He wasn't here. So what I mean, the whole thing is full of fucking exculpatory evidence. Why do people think Dylan is so innocent? She may, in fact, be as innocent as the fucking driven snow, folks. Yeah, and that footprint is used to support the perp left the house. There you go, Heather. Did Dylan go out with Kohberger? There's no connections or ties to Mr. Brian Kohberger and and the victims, electronically or otherwise, as stated by the defense team. And listen, I'm going to say to you that it's almost nonsensical, folks, to think that a defense attorney is going to put in motions that are it's like you're swearing under oath, you're signing. You know this to be true, blah 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 blah, and you're filing these motions to the court. And listen, it's possible, and I said this before, it's possible that motion that she filed is based on the discovery that they've examined, and that there may be discovery down the road that changes that. So I'm never like a one and done kind of guy. I fuck you, I'm going to fuck you the next morning too. Okay. I'm not a one and done kind of guy. So even though I surmise and conclude, I still allow my conclusion to be altered, okay, improved upon, or destroyed based on further information. I mean, I don't know how people fucking think. I don't see how you can do it any other way. Yeah, when people just assume that it's a lie, but yet I want to know what the fuck. I don't give a fuck whose phone turned off at 2:47 a.m. Why has that even got anything to do with anything? You did a download of the fucking tower. How many other people's phones turned off? Did you investigate all them fucking people? How about all the other people's phones that stopped connected to the network? Did you investigate all of those people? Did you try to connect any of them fucking people to the 11 to 13 Hyundai that you knew wasn't 11 to 13? How about someone brought up in the chat earlier? How about the one that was wrecked? Where was that car found? Does anybody remember? Where was that fucking car found? The victim's phone that stopped at 252, 247, 252. Oh, yeah, the 252 with the phone where they were trying to call. Yeah, Eugene, Oregon. Thank you. Yeah, when they were trying to call their ex-boyfriend, right? Yeah, I mean, they say it was the landlord's car. I don't trust the identification given to that car, but I do suspect that car is because it's an 11 to 13, it should be a vehicle of interest because it comports with the crime scene video. It comports with the FBI's determination. And now we know the FBI was correct in its determination insofar as the FBI stands on that. He stands like foot down, straight at attention. I identified an 11 to 13. Brett Payne acknowledged that was identified. Right? You're right, Green. I think it's possible that 11 to 13 that got ignored was the car. It's possible that the people that were involved in this crime are known to somebody tied to this investigation. Someone's or somebody connected to this investigation. Oh, I got something. Oh my God, I got to show you guys something. I'm so glad somebody said something like that, Heather, because I completely forgot about this. I'm going to show you guys something, and you're going to freak the fuck out. You guys are not going to sleep tonight. And if this information causes you not to sleep, and you got no one to get comfort in, Sarge, I'm home this weekend alone, so let me know. Holy shit! Watch this. This is crazy. Oh my God. I got to bring this up because it's the Gonclaves or Gonzalez. However the fuck you say their name. Sarge ain't about names and stuff. Watch. I got to find this in the video. Hang on. Hang on a second. All right. I got to play this. It's what the father says that ran a chill down my spine. Listen, you guys can't even imagine the conspiracy that I could lay at your fucking feet. Your head would explode, literally. You would be looking for fucking protection. You really would. Okay. I'm going to play this, and then you guys will understand what I mean. but I've got to find it. So bear with me. Don't hang up. Don't run away. I'm not going to put you out. I'll keep, I can talk for days. It's all right. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to present this so you guys can watch what I'm watching. Share screen. And you're going to have to just, this will be the best way to go. All right. So I want you guys to listen on to this. And I'll stop it when it gets to, and I hope I've got it keyed up at the right place. I may not.
Individuals that were cleared very fast. That may not, maybe you should not have been. And yeah,
Share the strong alibi.
just really fast.
If you can dismiss,
an hour later, and we're like, what? And I don't know. I don't know anything about those individuals. I just know they were people that definitely should have been looked at. And yeah,
I don't know what would prevent you from sharing somebody's alibi.
Yeah, I think that's what we're struggling with. So it's like, we know what we know. We've, fought for Jack, Kaylee's boyfriend, and, we still stand that way. So I did just kind of want to clear that up while we're talking through this ambiguity that, that's not what we're honing in on here.
We don't want to make more victims out of innocent people.
Exactly.
We definitely don't want to do that.
Did you hear what he said? Did you hear what he said? That ran a chill down my fucking spine. Okay? Because in my life, that don't mean what you think it means. Okay? In my life, in my existence, with the people I've fucking consorted with the activities I've participated in, that ain't what you think it is.
We know what we know. We've, fought for Jack, Kaylee's boyfriend, and, we still stand that way. So I did just kind of want to clear that up while we're talking through this ambiguity that, that's not what we're honing in on here.
Look at him.
We don't want to make more victims out of innocent people.
Exactly.
We definitely don't.
Damn. What the fuck does that mean? Is he saying he don't want to make more victims out of people that are being potentially accused? Is that what that's what you think he's saying, right? Do you see how the three of them move? Do you see how they all interact? Or is he referring to not making victims out of them? The price has been paid. What do you think, folks? What is he saying? What does he mean? What are the unhidden fucking messages that's being spoken right there? Or is there one? This is what I mean about conspiracy and drama. Because you can make it out of anything. In this particular situation, I would propose that the families themselves, has anybody ever looked to see if these families have any connections to any fucking crime cartel, crime family? Has anybody looked to see if any of these families are connected by a single fucking source of revenue or a single shared fucking source of nefarious stuff? Has anybody looked? No, I don't think so. Okay. I'll play it again. And I want you to try to listen to it through that particular frame of mind because they're all on board with that statement, all of them. And they're all matter of fact having this conversation.
Alibi.
Yeah, I think that's what we're struggling with. So it's like, we know what we know. We've, fought for Jack, Kaylee's boyfriend, and, we still stand that way. So I did just kind of want to clear that up while we're talking through this ambiguity that, that's not what we're honing in on here.
We don't want to make more victims out of innocent people.
Exactly.
We definitely don't want to do that.
They don't want to make more victims out of innocent. They don't want to do that. I'm just saying, folks, this is what I mean about how fucking convoluted and crazy the internet gets. I think it's a fair assessment to question this, question their body language, question that statement and the way he ended it. Okay. Are these victims, were they targets, as were stated early on by the police? Are the police sure that those 4 were taken down and 3 of them were probably the target or less than 3? Was there a reason one of these children or more of these kids were targeted? And does that fucking reason connect to the families that they come from and the activities of the family? I think that's a fair fucking question. Right? Couple that with his wafering and his what do you call it? Waffling. He's a Waffle House, this guy. He waffled early on as to whether Kohberger was involved or not. People need to tell the truth, right? He also said they didn't have to go upstairs. What do you mean they didn't have to go upstairs? Were they going after fucking Zainab because Zainab was going after the children that are being abducted from the border? That's what she was involved with. So it didn't even have to do anything to do with drugs, folks. My point is, this is what we see people doing on every one of these fucking channels out here. And you know, I can make perfect sense and create a perfect fucking storyline that would impugn these people to get these people questioned, right? See? And what the fuck is the point in that? Is there any relevance to that? Not that I'm aware of. Not that I'm aware of. However, it's not that hard to fucking to look at what he said and how they said what they said, how they all acted like they're aware. I think they're aware based on what I'm seeing there. We don't want to make victims out of others. In other words, you've taken your fucking pound of flesh. Leave us alone. Let's not start a full-on fucking war. You can make that argument from this clip. And I'm not making that argument. I'm not saying that anything I just said has any bearing. In fact, I do not have any, I'm not accusing anybody of anything. But I saw this and I wanted to, and I saved it for this specific reason. I probably should have started the stream with this, is that this is how things happen. This is what people see. And then we go off and we extrapolate into the absurd, into the insane. But we bring along the way with us facts that we're all aware of. We're all aware of his involvement. We're all aware of his antics. We're all aware of the things that he said. We're all aware of his demand that Brian get executed. We're all aware of this. He wants this thing ended now. Could that lead you to the question why? Is it solely because he totally believes Brian Kohberger is the doer of this crime? Is there some nefarious background reason none of us have even looked to go find? Like you went after the fucking Proudfoots, but nobody's looked at any of these families to see if anything these families are connected to or their children were directly connected to. Could their fucking child have been taken down as a message to the fucking family? I don't know. But it wouldn't be the first time that something like that has happened. Right? And this is what makes the internet such a dangerous fucking place for people to try to think. Right? Is what I've said, is what I outlined, does it seem plausible to people? I bet you it does. And it's based on a whole bunch of situations that we're all aware of. But the plausibility of it is fucking dog shit. There's nothing to indicate that what I just outlined has any basis in reality at all. Right? And that's what you see happening on the internet. This is what happens in politics. This is what happens in true crime. It happens all over the fucking place. And then good people that are victims of a crime, like this family, can be absolutely fucking devastated by a whole group of fucking shenanigan-loving fucking phone walking around with their phones, fucking their desktops or whatever they're on the internet with, going after these people. Listen, I don't think that that's something that isn't plausible. I think it's highly unlikely. Like that one woman I stopped talking to, Huda, had all these pictures and claiming there's a video of the crime and everybody was watching it. I can't talk with people that say that. I've said all I'm going to say about this. And this is an example of what all of these bubbly waters and these Tommy Judes and all these other fucking drama-loving fucks looking for clicks to earn pennies on the fucking dollar based on fucking people that watch their show, based on the amount of subscriptions they get. This is how they build their fucking show. With this fucking drama fucking laden extraordinary fucking claims and leaving the question out there for everybody now. Now you got it in your head, right? I set you up. You see what I did? After you hear this, you're going to have chills. You may not sleep tonight, right? I can play that fucking game too. I could probably out-drama the fucking drama people. I don't have to be so fucking passionate. I could be very monotone and explain in a very non-emotional way circumstances that would implicate the family in the crime of their own daughter's death. And I'm going to get in that tonight with some background review of the information we are aware of. So let's start with the Goncalves or Gonzalez family. I mean, there's a million ways to deliver drama, folks. Or you could do it passionately, or you could do it irately, or you could do it indignantly, or you could do it in a questioning kind of way, right? But that's the sadness of humanity. We've allowed ourselves to get caught up in these fucking drama laden, and we're the creators of drama. And then here's the best thing of all. Every one of these creators thinks they're not like the mainstream media when they're exactly like the mainstream media. Exactly. Fucking exactly like them. Trump-Russia collusion. Putin is his puppet. Trump is his puppet. Trump this and Trump that. Putin this, Putin that. Bah, 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 bah. He's a racist. He's a bigot. And on and on and on. Same thing they're doing with Kamala Harris now. That woman, I don't suspect that woman is surprised she lost. I don't think she's surprised at all. Okay? You could set a clock by me, but there is so much propaganda. Yeah, that's what I mean. See, green-eyed, this is the thing. And let me just say, folks, this little synopsis of what I just laid down is the exact synopsis laid down against Brian Kohberger. That's the fucked up thing. The difference between what they're saying about Kohberger in their documents is the equivalent of what I just said on the supposition of family involvement. There's no evidence to support it. I have not one piece of fucking evidence that suggests any of the family members are anything other than victims. Not one. And they have no evidence that Brian Kohberger was the killer of these 4 young people. Not one. And if you're going to try to say DNA does not prove a commission of a crime. And I won't even get into the minutia of the kind of DNA. DNA itself is not proof that a crime was committed. And there's dozens and dozens and dozens and fucking dozens of cases that were convicted on DNA that have been overturned. Let's not fucking forget that reality. If you rest your fucking relief on trying to accept what the cops said, well, they made a mistake about the year, make, model. No, motherfucker, they didn't. Now they admit they didn't. And you're not even smart enough to say, well, we need to now look if anywhere in the travels, or when that phone went off the air, were there any vehicles within 5 minutes or so of that were captured on camera that are consistent with the same kind of car Brian was in? That's what you need to be looking for. That's what the cops should look for. That's what I see. If I was a police officer, when that FBI agent came back and told me that, and then somebody else brought me this information that this kid owns a 15, but he looks like the perp. Okay? And that the guy keeps telling me it's 11 to 13, I'm going to say to you, well, then this guy couldn't have done it. Unless that guy accompanied that vehicle by being a passenger in that car. So now what I want my team to do is I'd make a great fucking lieutenant. I need you to go out there and put Brian Kohberger in 11 to 13 that night. Because if you can't put him in the car that's consistent with our witness's timeline, that fits the description the FBI agent with 30 years fucking experience told us was at the house. If you can't put him in that car, then we got to move on. We got to move on. Because the DNA, folks, all by itself, when everything else says he wasn't there, the DNA can't contradict that. There is no timestamp on that DNA. None. Yeah, no, you can't. And I said this before, and it's funny. That's why I bring up Jeff and a few of these other fucking creators that you guys need to make pennies, I guess. I'm happy that people even listen to me, to be honest with you. And there's no way you should be paying me to listen to me. Let me just start out with that. I think for the most part, you shouldn't have to pay to listen to anybody's opinion. Okay? There's a song out there called Sunscreen. Go listen to that song. All right? That's my motto in life. Sunscreen. Wear sunscreen. That's it. If you want advice from me that's going to cover all the bases on good advice, wear sunscreen. That's all I got. Everything else is an opinion. Okay? And, you know, people act like you're arguing to be right. I'm not arguing to be right. My opinion is accurate. Okay? My opinion is completely accurate. Your opinion is based on supposition of woulda, coulda, shoulda, maybe, if. And I don't roll like that. I don't go to the grocery store with woulda, coulda, shoulda, maybe, if I should have brought money with me. I don't load my cart up wondering if I can afford what's in the cart. Right? There's many things in life that we all do that we do with the facts, right? You bought Skechers so that you could slip your shoes on and off. That's a fact. That's made to do that. That's why you bought the shoe, because that's what you wanted. You do a lot of things based on facts, based on data and information collected. You go out and you stick the key in your ignition, turn the fucking key, or hit the button. Right? And your expectation is the car is going to start and you're going to get you to where you're going. That's how you live your life. It's a compilation of action and reaction, of facts, and you just move through the day. Yeah, well, it's transfer DNA. So they call it touch DNA. They're mislabeling it. They're mislabeling it like they've done with everything that's important to people. Transfer DNA is dead skin cells that every one of us shed to the tune of 5 billion plus every day. 70% of the dust in your house is dead skin cells, okay? You're all a bunch of fucking pig pens. The difference is it's microscopic until it's not, and it's fucking dead skin cells and dust all over the fucking place. Because enough of it, 5 billion a day. How many days got to go by before you get dust on that fucking shiny cherry wood coffee table? Not many. It is. The testing can be subjected to errors. The collection of it can be subjected to errors. The statistical analysis can have errors. The fact that it's there means nothing. It doesn't even mean Brian Kohberger touched that knife sheath. That's the worst thing about transfer DNA. You know, and I find it rather fucking interesting that a guy would go into a home. And I pointed this out a long time ago. I'm a criminal. I'm not anymore. For the last 30 years, folks, I've been a very, very, if not completely insane, somewhat sane, honest person. I don't lie to you for money. I don't cheat people for money. I don't do any of that. I don't hook up with girls on the idea I love them, they're going to be my forever, and then dump them. I ain't out there about trying to hurt people and break people's hearts. So when I hear that somebody went into a home, okay? No, they had internet outage in the area, Becky. That was consistent with more than just that home. Yeah, or go out to the outside. Okay, so what was I saying? So they claimed that around after 4:07 a.m., someone entered through the sliding glass door, went into the home, through the kitchen, up the stairs to the first door on the right or whatever, to the first door, and went in and committed these two homicides. My question to anybody with a brain is, if your weapon is a gun and you walk into that house, here's the ridiculous question that needs to be answered, okay? You guys can answer with the number 1 or the number 2, whatever platform you're on. You could be on Twitter, you could be at YouTube, it won't matter. So here's the question, folks. You walk into a home with a gun in your hand. Now, are you going to keep the bullets in a pocket? Are you going to walk into a home with a gun in its holster and the gun and the holster in your hand? Is that how you're going to approach a crime scene where, on all evidence, okay, the intent was to kill? And you could come to that conclusion without any difficulty because this all happened in under 13 minutes. So you want me to understand and to accept that Brian Kohberger took a sheathed knife in a sheath that's designed to be carried around your waist in a belt, okay? That he took this knife designed to be hung from the hip on a belt, into the home in his hand, withdrew the knife by using his other hand, and then attacked two people and dropped the knife sheath and left it there, to then go down the stairs, cross the entire length of the fucking home, down a hallway, into another room to commit 2 more horrific homicides. And then left and walked out of there like nothing bothered him. But when he got to his car, he sped away like there was a fucking fire on his ass. You expect me to understand that to be factual, that it makes sense? I got to make sense of that, right? So does it make sense that that weapon was carried into that house, contained in his hand in a sheath? 1, that makes perfect sense. Or 2, it's ridiculous. No different than carrying the fucking gun into the house. You can't fire a gun in its holster. Right? I don't even know if you can get the safety off. You might be able to. So why would you carry your gun in a holster and have both the holster and the gun in your hand when you're going to decide to kill somebody? I just think that it's fucking crazy that this guy, or the killer, and that's why I said, folks, in the very beginning, that this crime took place within that home, among the occupants of the home, that an outsider didn't have anything to do with it. And that would make much more practical sense. There's many ways you can now explain how the sheath ended up on that bed. Okay? Many ways you can explain how that sheath ended up on that bed. And here's just 2 simple ways. Okay? Again, I'm not saying this girl committed the crime. But let's, for all just bullshit purposes, say Bethany and Dylan weren't they part of some? Not Bethany. What's the who's Bethany was the girl downstairs. So whoever the 2 girls are upstairs, one of them was at a dance party with Dylan, right? Kaylee and what's the other girl? Maddie and Kaylee, right? One of those 2 girls were at a dance party with her, blah, blah, blah. Is it possible that there was a rift between these 3 girls and that Dylan went upstairs with a knife in a sheath because there was 2 against 1 and she wanted to make them fucking hear her point of view, or she wanted to fucking rip on these, and she was mad, she was hurt, she was jealous, she was whatever, and that she went up there and she had that knife in the sheath in her hand, in an argument. She went up there specifically to argue, not to hurt, but to intimidate. That would explain how the sheath could have ended up on the bed. In that scenario, you can understand it. It would make sense that she went up there with not a bare knife, but with a knife in a sheath to make the point. I'll fucking stab you. And then a physical dispute ensued. And that knife came out of the sheath, either because it wasn't snapped in, or maybe one of the girls reached out to grab the knife away from her and she pulled the fucking sheath off the knife. And then a struggle ensued, or a fight. And this is what you ended up with. I mean, one of the young women, sadly, is apparently fought tooth and nail and was hit with that knife multiple times, dozens of times. And that, if that's true, then there's no reason that what I just laid out isn't a reasonable explanation of how this happened and how it makes more sense than some fucking guy coming in from the outside with the intent to commit murder carries a weapon of fucking war inside of its case into a fucking area that he's going to commit a horrific crime. He doesn't know where people are in that house at that moment in time. He might have an idea, but you don't know. So, and this is why I think, unfortunately, how the other 2 in the lower room got involved. How the 2 here, let me just say, one of the things that's disturbed me a lot was when Gonzalez said that they didn't have to go upstairs. That really fucking bothers me. It always has bothered me. But let me just say that if you're not familiar with that home, so let's go back to an outsider coming in, but coming in with a reason. And if you walk in through the fucking sliding glass door and you see a staircase, you're instantly considering that to be the second floor. You're on the first floor, you're going upstairs. You understand? It would have been the first door on the right. If you would have came up the stairs and looked down the hallway, that would have been the first door on the right. Isn't that how they entered the upstairs rooms? So my point is that even if you include it to be an outsider, but an outsider that had a target that comports with Gonzalez's statement, they didn't need to go upstairs, that Zana was the target. But that this person coming in through the second floor sliding glass doors had no idea that he was on the second floor when he came in and walked up to the third floor. You see, 2 and 3 wouldn't have made sense to somebody unfamiliar with the home. 1 and 2 would have. 1 and 2, I came in on the fucking ground floor. I walked across the fucking flat patio into a fucking kitchen. When her kitchen's on the second floor. You would naturally think you walked into the first floor of that home. You would have climbed those stairs. You would have naturally thought that was the second floor. And then in there, what happened. Now, I suspect that either realizing their mistake or upon leaving the scene, whether it be somebody that was an occupant of the home already or somebody from the outside, somehow there was an interaction between him, them, and the 2 people in front of the house. Getting caught is a little difficult to go for when you've got an armed fucking person in that house, right? Listen, and like what Truth and Transparency said, Lana, and kudos to her when she points out that it's likely and possible that Bethany's statement is her and Dylan were in her bedroom the whole night. And that's the difference in conversation. That's the difference in the exculpatory evidence unique to her. I can accept that. I don't have to see. I don't know whether Dylan did anything or not. But actually, her statement of putting those 2 together, that fits better than what I'm saying when it comes to Dylan. But that doesn't mean somebody that was in that house still wasn't one to commit the crime. We all know that there were other boyfriends and associates, and so there's still a reason to believe that whoever committed the crime was in that house. That this person didn't sneak in that house. And for my observations. It's got moving day. Yeah, so the whole crime scene is convoluted, but the idea that you could fit Brian in there better than anybody else just never made any sense to me. It never will make sense. That's okay, Heidi. Why go upstairs and get stuck or caught easy? Greenwood. Yeah, well, because it's possible if there was a target, the target was on the second floor, you see? And you're going in there with a weapon to commit murder. But again, I still have a really hard time as an ex-criminal. If you've got the tenacity to take life like that, you don't fucking go in there with the knife in a sheath in one hand and then the other hand free. Just doesn't make fucking sense to me. That's just not the way I would have approached that crime. If I went into that home to cause harm and murder, that knife would have been on alert. That would have been right out there for everybody to fucking see. The minute you caught an eye of me in that house, there'd been a blade buried in your fucking chest. That'd have been it. Because of the unknown, like you're saying. Why go upstairs and get stuck or caught? Too easy. Well, it's not too easy when you're able to kill the people that are around you, right? So the better question is, why go into a crime to commit murder with the weapon of murder being contained in a sheath that then would require both of your hands to bear it, right? And wield it. Listen. You wouldn't have had it in a fucking sheath. Or the sheath would have been attached to a belt. Where's the belt? Where's the article of clothing? Where are the fibers? Where's anything on that fucking sheath that connects it to somebody that didn't already live there? For all we know, folks, it's also probable that the person they were calling and their phone disconnected at 2:52 a.m. and went dead. It's also something connected to that. And that person was familiar with the house and came into the house. And what happened upstairs happened upstairs. And upon leaving the house, ran into the 2 people in the front, one or the other, and got them back into that room and committed 2 more homicides. So it's possible that, again, this is somebody from their inner circle, whether it be somebody that was a resident of the home or somebody that directly had regular access to the home. Makes fucking way more sense to explain the information that they've given us than Brian Kohberger. That's disturbed me right from the beginning, this whole crime. And now, if they can come forward now in court in these motions and destroy Ann's motions, put Brian in that car, or unequivocally fucking prove that that car was a 15 or a 14 or a 16, well, you know, let me just say, folks, there's something here that's not being paid much attention to. I think you could have walked into the house wearing anything. You could have been wearing a tuxedo. You could have been wearing jeans. Would you bring your dog's crate and not use it the 2 days you're in town? Leave it in your car while you go each night? Yeah, it's possible. Maybe nobody really had an issue and she just decided to keep him in the room. Yeah, I could see that being possible. Rather than keeping him locked in the fucking crate, she probably thought, it's probably not going to be cool. We're going to be gone for hours. We'll just let him run around in the room. Yeah, I don't object to that. In other words, it doesn't make, that action has no suspicion to it. Has no suspicion to it at all for me. The location of the dog crate. Bringing it shows that she's a conscientious dog owner, that she's thinking of staying there a day overnight and she's going to use the crate. And then she just didn't want to bring it in and figured he's fine running around. Other people were probably interacting with him, right? So, I don't see that as any part or I don't read anything into that. No, but let me just say something, Heidi. So back to what you were asking. You could have wore anything from a tuxedo to a prom dress to commit this crime and left nothing behind. You really could have. Because whatever you had on you left with you, right? And because these people were on a bed, there may not have been much opportunity to step in any of the blood because the victims were in the bed upstairs, right? How they ended up downstairs, I'm not sure. But you would have to assume that you would step in something or pick something up. But that's an assumption. That's not 100%. Not every crime, not every stabbing is going to leave anything. Even if it left drops of blood from the victims as you left, that would not lead the criminal. It wouldn't lead them to you as the criminal. You see? So in this case, again, getting away from Kohberger, if the person committed the crime was completely covered in blood when they left, it wouldn't direct you to who that person is at all. Remember, whatever evidence was then they collected onto themselves was taken by themselves out of the crime scene to be disposed of at some other time, right? There fibers under the fingernails, there may or may not be, but those fibers under the fingernails aren't going to direct you to a particular. It's consistent with somebody wearing a flannel. It's consistent with somebody wearing what if the guy had a windbreaker on and it's slippery? You can't really get your nails into it. So there's so many different things that could be in play here. And the catch-22 is we don't know any of it. So it isn't likely that every crime means that there's something under the fingernails, even in a violent fight kind of a crime. Right? You can't just naturally assume that would exist. In this case, it didn't exist. This is so we'll call this like an outlier. So, and what if some of the fibers found are fibers consistent with fibers they found around the house? Now what? Now what do you do? Right? Because jeans aren't that unusual. Sweaters aren't that unusual. Windbreakers aren't that unusual. Some of those winter coats are slippery. You know what I mean? They're not cloth. They're that nylon shit. I mean, and if you picked it up, how does that identify a perpetrator? You found nylon fibers under her fingernails. Okay. I mean, the only way for that to be of any value is to find the perpetrator and compare it to what they own as a coat. Sweaters. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm not saying that but there's no mention of that evidence in any of this. There's no mention of evidence like that at all, even in her objections. Right? And her motions to suppress. Here's another question, and I want you guys to answer this. I'm not going to say another word to you in the chat room. You answer this. Is there anything in her filings that are outside of what we already all knew? Is there anything in her motions to suppress? Is there any mention of evidence that's beyond what we already knew they had in the PCA and in other court hearings? Is there anything new that she's saying needs to be suppressed? Anybody? A 1, yes. A 2? No. No, she didn't present anything in her motions to suppress that's inconsistent with what we already knew. Not a single for thing. Yeah. Okay. So for all of you people thinking that the prosecution has got some secret fucking evidence that they're going to bring to court, that's just that can't be done. It's unlawful. You can't put somebody on trial by ambush. You can't do it. You have to give in discovery all evidence that will be used to prosecute your client. Now you're so far down the fucking road that if you're going to start to produce that now, the fucking court's going to flip out at you. You fucked with us for 2 years, and now all of a sudden. So we're at a point in this particular case where you have to honestly sit back and ask yourself, did Brian Kohberger have the opportunity? Yes. Did the government provide factual information that shows he took that opportunity? And in this case, the answer has to be no. The government has not provided evidence that supports their statements, their accusations for their warrants. And everybody's saying she's trying to get everything suppressed. I said this in the very beginning. Matter of fact, Dago is probably the best guy to show you. His channel had me on it a lot in the beginning. The True Crime Cafe. And I was saying this stuff on Rory's show back then. There just isn't anything in the PCA that ties Brian Kohberger to the crime scene. And then to make things worse, no DNA in his car. Well, now if you want to be fucking smart, you accept the reason there's no DNA in Kohberger's car is because that was not the car used to commit the crime. There's nothing wrong with accepting that as a fact, right? The fact that Brian Kohberger commit the crime. Okay, let's ask more questions. Was there any DNA found of the victims at his apartment? Was there any DNA of the victims found at his workplace or at his parents' home? And the answer to all of those questions is no. So I'm going to go full circle, and I'm going to go back to what I said. You have to place Brian in the driver's seat. I'm going to be very specific. He must be in the driver's seat of the 11 to 13 Elantra that discharged a passenger or passengers that committed this crime. And that when they got back in the vehicle and took off, anything connected to that crime scene is a party to the person or people that were dropped off from that 11 to 13 Elantra. That's the best part of it. There's no other way to connect Brian Kohberger to this case. You cannot make him the murderer. You could make him at best a party to the crime as the driver, or even a passenger that didn't go in. Okay. You know, here's the other thing too. Did Dylan stay in Bethany's room for the 8 hours? Was there something happening in that house that prevented them from going upstairs and looking? That prevented them that made them fucking freeze so that nobody even thought to go downstairs to look for them? I wouldn't find that to be outrageous at all if these two young women, okay, and now there's people up there cleaning. Could Kohberger have been a part of that? See, but again, these are all woulda, coulda, shouldas, but they're much more descriptive in how you can put Kohberger there. But I just don't see any way, shape, or form that you can make Brian Kohberger the killer unless or until you connect him to that 11 to 13. It's more likely, folks, that all of this is bullshit. And the statements that Dylan gave that night, okay, were statements that they used to frame a crime around an individual. That's what appears to me that's happened here. And in fact, it may be because they got a gut feeling or they know he was involved some way, somehow. And so they charged him with everything and the death penalty, hoping to force him to flip on his accomplices. That is also a perspective worth viewing. It's not conspiracy. There's times where that does happen, right? You've seen that. You try to get this guy to flip on others. Well, if this guy don't talk, if this guy ain't telling no tale, then you're not going to. So what? You found fucking transfer DNA on a button of a knife sheath. Okay. Sad. I'm so sorry that even my DNA showed up anywhere near that home. That's something, but that's not indicative of him committing the crime. And so is it possible Brian Kohberger was a part of the perfect crime? I guess. I mean, did he leave the transfer DNA as a dig to the police? Did he leave a calling card as a dig? I guess. I don't buy that, but okay. Sure. I don't know. They needed to charge someone and close it. Fall guy. Well, and they framed him. They had circumstances that they're convinced depict the crime. And I honestly don't think that their circumstances depict the crime. I think the times and the arguments that they make are after the crime occurred. In other words, I think it happened earlier in the evening. I think there's more to this crime. There has to be more to the crime. That's okay, Gray. Yeah, you guys notice I didn't come on for many days. So sometimes when I finally do get to the point where I need to come on and just, what do you call that? Talk about shit. Yeah, sometimes it goes on for a couple hours because I'm away for a week or two. What up there, Heidi? Have a good Thanksgiving. Gray, you have a good Thanksgiving. Get your ass to bed, Gray. I know you're old. Don't worry about being old lady. Get yourself some sleep. Rest. We call it rest when you're old and beauty sleep when you're young. There's no in between. Anyone know if Hardee's will be open in the morning? Hardee's restaurant? No. I take naps every day. It's my routine, man. I just closed out business for the year. December 1st, I officially take the winter off. I hope, although my help sometimes irritates the shit out of me, so I probably will have to do something on the 3rd or whatever, but it'll be easy. Happy Turkey Day. So for all those of you signing out, great. We've had a good response. I mean, I haven't been on here in a while, and I'm very thankful to all of you that did jump in here. Stop sharing. So there's X seems to be my best platform. I probably should jump up to the professional and what do you call it? And then do the streaming on X. I don't even know what they call that there. Let me refresh X, see what we got for viewers there. Yeah, we still got 88 viewers. 88 viewers. So that's where I stand with the Kohberger case. It's tragedy. Everything around us is tragic. All the stuff they've done with the border, all the child trafficking that's gone on, all the drugs, all these countries taking advantage of us, shitting on us. All why fucking Biden and Harris just sit back in their fucking tower. Right? And we're being trampled underfoot. Thank God this guy won it. Elon was totally right. If we the people couldn't pick the winner, if Kamala Harris won, that would have been the end of the United States. That would have shown the criminals that are behind the scenes that they have the power to even pick our leaders. And once you lose that power as a society, then your society no longer is a governable society. It's over. Okay? They did it in 2020 by the skin of their teeth. But in 2024, like I had said all those times over and over again, once you lose 26% of the black vote, it's over. It's over. A Democrat cannot win. If 26% of the blacks vote for their opponent or sit home, you can't win. There isn't enough in your fucking registered voter list to win by. And he got 33%, and he won. He won every fucking swing state, as I said he would. He should have won, in my opinion, Virginia, Illinois, and New Jersey. And he didn't. I'm surprised he didn't win New York, and he didn't. But I think that that's because those are no voter ID states. And I suspect that's one of the reasons why a lot of these states that Kamala got, she got because the Democrats cheat. And so do the Republicans. The Republicans know the cheat is in. Let me just say, in all fairness, this isn't some grand secret among the politicians. Look at this Thune and Mitch McConnell and these other cuckold fucking Republicans that need to be removed. These people are worse than Nancy Pelosi and worse than Joe Biden. They're the trouble. These fucking these owned and fucking paid for pieces of shit politicians. They're the fucking problem. And it's not just one party. They know the Democrats are cheating in all those states so they can make cliffhangers out of all of these fucking elections. Just think of how many cliffhangers we've had. Is that a coincidence? How the fuck do you have that many cliffhanger elections in a row? How the fuck does that happen? From George W. Bush and the hanging Chad forward. And the only time you don't have a fucking cliffhanger is when Obama runs. Which I kind of accept those results because I think a lot of people, even white people, voted for him because he was black and he seemed okay. Right? As the old saying goes, he sounded literate. Right? You know how that was a fucking... people didn't even realize they were slandering black people by calling them literate. Right? Even Clinton said, and it's a reported truth, that N-word should be getting me my drinks, not running my country. He should be serving me fucking dinner. Yeah, it's all the same bird, right wing, left wing. But there are people in between like us. It's people like us that need to run for office. It's people like us that should be fucking raining down on the fucking Republican National Committee. And we should be raining down on fucking Thune, on any of the people like that Murkowski, whoever she is. All of these people should be getting constant emails, constant letters, Santa Claus fucking mailings daily. Bags and bags of fucking mail to their office. Their phone banks, their fucking email accounts, their websites. All of us should be saying, fucking approve these people. Stop working for the deep state. And they should be getting that fucking shit round the clock. That's your right to be heard. And there's no one out there, these Bennies and these Bonginos, and everybody makes it about them and how fucking much more clever and how better their memes are or how better their fucking ridiculous making fun of these people is. That's all these people are doing. It's all drama and bullshit. Where's the push to get something done? Where's the push to shut these? In other words, we complain about Mitch McConnell. We don't do anything about it. Where are these big voices organizing us to do something about it? That's one of the other reasons why I stayed away from social media for a couple of years. There's never any fucking solution. And solutions are all nonviolent. Right? They didn't have to invade my country to take it over. They almost took my country over without firing a fucking shot. We could do the same thing. Green-eyed. What's green-eyed? What you got, Carl? Thought they would be open. So, I don't know. I think a lot of us are on the same page when it comes to this Brian Kohberger case. I think it's a tragedy. And I think and I'm very happy. For mainly I'm happy that what Ann has been filing is consistent with legal standards. There's standards you have to follow. There's things you have to do in order to arrest an American, and you need to follow them. I'm not so sure the judge is going to go with it, but there is this one point that needs to be said. This needs to be said. How many times did Bill Thompson? How many times did Judge ask Bill Thompson that the genealogy wasn't used in any of this? That the state didn't rely on the IGG for any of this information? How many times was that stated clearly and unequivocally in that fucking courtroom? Right? Right? Judge, when Ann was asking for all of this stuff, one of the reasons they weren't giving up the IGG is they weren't going to use it in court, and it hasn't been used. Right? And Ann is saying, okay, then how'd you identify my client? And there's no clear consensus in how they identified the client. Because as she said, you motherfuckers know it's an 11 to 13. He drives a 15. So there's no way you could use that video to identify my client at that crime scene. No fucking way. That's why, she isn't saying it the way I'm saying it, but there's no other way to interpret what she'd been saying all of this time. I, myself, and several other lawyers still do not understand how they came to my client, Brian C. Kohberger. Was it the car? Was it the IGG? Was it the phone? Well, you can rest assured it wasn't the IGG. Yeah. And this new order, you're right. He finally admits that it was the IGG. But there's another problem, Heather. That the receipts of the IGG and in relation to the arrest of Brian Kohberger, that timeline is all fucked up. It's too close to each other. They got the DNA from a fucking garbage bag. They flew the DA. They tested the DNA. They compared the DNA. They went and arrested Brian Kohberger. That happened in less than 24 hours. Right? These people are fucked up. And the idea that he was saying that over and over again, that guy, Judge, the thing he should do before he retires is sanctions. Bill fucking Thompson. Bill Thompson should get fucking punished for that. She is saying it the way I'm saying it, but she's doing it under the guise of legalities, right, Heather? But if you can't identify him with the car, you can't identify him with the phone, you can't identify him with the camera, where'd you get his name from? Well, we got it from a tip. And here's the catch-22, and I'm going to end the stream with this because I'm going full circle on this in this one fucking statement. The argument that they got it on a tip is 1,000% true. They got a tip. The part of that you're not being told, okay, some of you know, most of you don't. That tip came from the Federal Bureau of Investigation's IGG work. That's where the fucking tip came from. That's why there's a gag order. That's why the case is sealed, because the FBI's IGG work, Bill Thompson and his criminal cuckold fucking family of prosecutors and judges and lawyers know that can't be admissible in court. And so they hid it and they lied. That's why she's having the Franks hearing. Okay? These people are fucking insane and they think, well, they're actually, let me give them credit. They think you're all stupid. And for the most part, they're right. But you're not as stupid as they think, because when shown factual information, you're able to see, process, and understand it. The problem we have in our world is there's very few people that'll stick to the facts, okay, and run it to the end. That's what I've done. My facts have been the same. My objections have been the same. My views have been the same. I don't give a fuck what anybody says. Man, I'll block your fucking ass. I don't give a fuck. It's not about proving I'm right. It's about masculinity. You know what you know, and you stand to it. It's about being fucking honest to yourself. It's about a lot of things. But I'm not going to change my opinion because the wind blows and the popularity contest is by a clickbait fucking title like I did tonight. Brian Kohberger released. Fucking bullshit. Not a kid should be released. But them kind of fucking titles, even though I did use one, shame on fucking me. And people say, well, you did it. Yeah, I did do it just to show you how fucking stupid most of you are. You don't need clickbait titles like that. There was enough drama and enough bullshit surrounding this case because of the actions of the government that you never needed to look at it. You didn't need to look at a Banfield. You didn't need to look at the food truck. You didn't need to go look at other arrests. You didn't need to FOIA anything. All you needed to do was look at what the government had, what they claimed they had, and then what they could prove they have. And guess what? They could prove none of it. Please make me understand why people are so adamant that Trump shouldn't be president. Because they live their life based on hate, Terry. People hate. The Democratic Party sells hate. That black man has to hate the white man because the white man's still suppressing him, right? They build their party and their attitudes of their voters on hate. If you don't do A, B, and C because people are getting ill, then you need to be hated. Everything the Democratic Party sells is based on hate, and it ran its course. People are fucking sick of it. I'm hoping that spreads more to cases and things like this, right? It's sad, but that's how it works. You got to hate Trump. And I don't like or dislike or hate or love or anything with Trump. I've got my questions and concerns about Trump. He's alleviated some of them. He's been asked questions off the cuff that he's answered, questions I wanted to ask him, and he answered them. And his answer wasn't contrived. They were very satisfactory to me. It was the kind of answer that I didn't have, and I didn't know what he would say. He was asked, "What? Looking back on your 4 years, what one thing would you call a mistake that you would do differently this time?" And his answer didn't even take him much thought. He said, "People. My mistake was with the people I surrounded myself with, the people I took advice for. You know, I went to Washington, and I'd never been there before." And he goes on, he pontificates, and then he comes back to, and so I was taking advice of guys that had won a dozen elections and been in office for 30 years. And I surrounded myself with the wrong people. Now, that went a long way into me giving Trump more rope. That one answer, because my biggest problem with him was the last year of his administration. Things he didn't do that he should have done. Things that he did do that hurt us. He turned us over to the Clinton Foundation, in essence, and that crushed us. He knew in 2018, based on a Department of Justice investigation, go to the fucking DOJ files and find it, that ballot harvesting was a big fucking problem within Democratic districts. He knew that. Didn't do anything to protect the 2020 election by it, though, did he? So there were a lot of things that happened. A lot of advice that he got that I thought was just ridiculous. He never drained the swamp. I don't give a fuck about the wall. Get rid of the swamp. And that means once that's gone, ain't no one going to want it. Listen, you could light that border 24/7 and put swimming pools on the fucking border. And if you got the right people in government, nobody from a fucking foreign country is going to cross that border to get in your pool. I guarantee it. But you need to have the right people running the fucking show. I got a swimming pool. I got lights. You got a swimming pool. You got lights. How many strangers come into your fucking pool? How often does that happen? Well, never. You see? So that's what I held against Trump. That he never drained that fucking swamp. And that to me said that he was either in on it or an idiot. And then when he answered that question, that yes, I love that answer too, Green Eyed. When he answered that question, I was like, okay. That was a question that I didn't see coming. No one asks Trump what he did wrong. And unless they're saying, you know, did you handle that racist comment improperly when you talked about very fine people? He gets fucked up with those questions because he knows he didn't say that, right? I don't know who's Sean and what's Sean behind. Oh, the Sebastian case. I've had my focus on politics in the Sebastian situation. Well, Carl, tell us about the Sebastian situation briefly. Tell us. Have they found the boy? Have they got any ideas of how he went missing, where he went missing, who took him, who didn't take him, anything at all? I suspect the answer to that is 2 letters. But you go ahead and you have the chat room. Uh-huh. Yeah, that's true, Becky. You're right. And that's the thing is yeah, nothing new. So 2 letters, he made it 2 words. You got to be the prick that you are, don't you there, Carl? The first 2 letters of the first word that you wrote was sufficient. No. The answer was no. You firmament loving motherfucker. You flat earth lover. You're crazy, Carl. Space is flat, curved in around itself. But it's flat. And you can't call it a circle. You can't call it a ball because each end is open. And I think it's when they look at each end where they're getting confused and they think the universe is expanding. And I don't think that's true either. I don't think it's expanding. But it is what it is. So I think he's most in-touch politicians we have in decades. I do too. I honestly think, to be very honest with you folks, and I mean this in a positive way, the 2 assassination attempts on his life gave him a seriousness and a focus that I hope really makes him one of the most memorable presidents in the history of the country because of the positive changes that he makes that become mirrored around the globe. You can already see that developing. Hamas wants to stop the war. The Houthis stop fighting the Saudi Arabians. The fucking Russia wants to go to a peace treaty. Mexico is going to start closing their fucking borders down. Even though the president of Mexico is coming out saying, if you tear us off, you're going to hurt your own companies. Well, fuck you. The first person to suffer is going to be you. All right? Yeah, we can have an open panel on the Sebastian case. I don't know what to add to it. I just don't know what to add to the panel or to that case because the kid, he went missing under mysterious circumstances and there's been no hide nor hair of the guy. There isn't anything to connect him to anywhere. So it's just terrifying that you know, if you want to believe in UFOs, then this was an abduction. Hope he gets returned. I don't know what got him out of that house, right? And it's possible. Here's the funny thing. It's possible nobody knows. I mean, that's the one part of the story that everybody doesn't want to accept. Either Seth is involved or the mother's involved or the stepfamily's involved or the grandmother's. No. Okay. One glaring obvious conclusion is that nobody knows except Sebastian and or anybody he affiliated himself with. That's the only place you're going to find an answer, is in finding Sebastian. We don't know that there was any living human being involved in him leaving that house. And there's no evidence to say that there was. There's no evidence to disprove that it wasn't aliens. I mean, that's a very tough situation, especially imagine being the parents. Oh my God. I mean, it's as likely he was abducted by aliens, which I don't believe in. I don't think is accurate. I don't think that that's taking place on Earth, but it's a good answer as any. That's what makes that fucked up. It's about money. I don't know how it could be about money with that young man. I don't know how that young man means money. I don't know how his disappearance would connect people to a money trail. I don't see it. I mean, yeah, Carl, UFOs come from the ocean. Okay, there you go. Well, that's maybe they're teaching them how to swim, and it just takes longer from where they come from, Carl. I don't know. But that's one of those perplexing cases where I don't really want to do anything in and around it because there's no new information that'll give you any fucking any point of reference or any direction. That same thing with the Kohberger case, that at least in this case, you had data. And instead of questioning the data, people just wanted to throw this guy out of the fucking, off the roof of the tallest building in the world. And nobody wanted to examine what the police were doing or what the police were saying, or what the prosecutor was saying, all their contradictions, all their no evidence to support this kid being in jail. I mean, to be very honest with you, I don't know if she could have, probably not, but I would have asked for the case to be dismissed and all evidence, be disqualified and destroyed. That's what I'd be asking for if I was in. And or while you're reviewing your decision on this, you post bail. You give us a bail for this case. He's been in jail for 2 years. 2 years. Okay, they denied it. I missed that she did that. Yeah, I mean, that's a point, green-eyed. But again, that's not unusual either. When you're looking for a kid, that people set up a GoFundMe. She took it to the Idaho Supreme Court after filing for a permissive appeal. Did she make the argument, though, that I just laid out based on the evidence that she's now compiled and put in motions to suppress? Was that her argument? I mean, she's having a Franks hearing, and I'm telling you, I think Bill Thompson's going to be in that hearing. He's sitting in fucking front of the court saying that the IGG had nothing to do with anything, and we're not going to use it at trial. And then that's because the DNA we got from him matches the fucking sample. Wait a minute, motherfucker. The whole idea you got a warrant to get his DNA is debunked. It's wrong. That's what I've been saying the whole time. Okay. I mean, that's just nonsense. You're IGG. You built a fucking tree, right? So why didn't you go arrest Brian Kohberger? Why did you go for his father's garbage? Why? How long did you know there was no fucking relationship between his car and the crime scene? How long did you know that that car had no fucking DNA available to you, whether it be his or somebody else's? How long were you aware of that? How long did you know all of these facts were unverifiable or untrue or unprovable because this kid's smarter than you? Let's go with the fact he killed him. Okay. Well, how the fuck long did you have all that information? And then why would you misrepresent yourself in warrants? Let's be clear. That garbage bag did not tie Brian Kohberger to this crime. That garbage bag indicated his father's DNA and the sample that they had amplified and created a tree out of matched. So why isn't his father the perpetrator? Oh, no. It's because he was the father of the sample that we had. Really? What did Carl say? I never get past that. What date are you talking about, you two? Yeah, it's crazy. You know, all this information is inaccurate, untrue, unprovable, yet you use that in an arrest warrant to get this guy's DNA. I mean, you could have just sat back and got his DNA. February 26th. What was on the 26th? Is that the Kohberger stuff, or is this the date that Sebastian Rogers went missing? Oh, happy birthday. No, that's not exactly how it happened, Heather. That's not exactly how it happened. See, the FBI will do an IgG analysis and give you a tip or a list of suspects that they can derive from this particular sample. And then it's up to you to take that tip and keep it to yourself, you stupid fucking ignorant Idaho fucking police. This is one of the ways they're getting around our constitutional protections. Okay? If the FBI especially hand this off to a private contractor. All right, so here's the deal. The FBI's information is the tip itself, and it's not to be used in any court proceeding or any official proceedings. Getting a warrant, using that as your basis for the warrant, you're not allowed to do that. IgG itself is not in and of itself enough probable cause. It doesn't reach that level. And so then you build this fucking story about cars and phones and video, you see, in an attempt to mask that all you really have is fucking IgG. And that's why the Kohberger case is a fucking mess. And that's why all of these people screaming he should be fucking in jail are a bunch of fucking assholes. And I said this a long time ago, and it was on Dago's show. I hope this motherfucker did it and he gets set fucking free. I fucking hope that finally, maybe that's enough for enough fucking Americans to understand your big fucking enemy are the people that work for you. How the fuck can you be an employer of a government and not keep your eye on them? How the fuck can you run an ice cream fucking stand and not keep an eye on the people serving the ice cream or handing the cash register? That's who these fucking government officials are. They're running our ice cream stand. And you want to pay attention to the American that they're accusing of doing something, which, okay, keep your eye on that fucking guy. But good God. Good night, Carl. Good God, folks. There's more to every case than meets the eye. Like the Karen Reed case. That's another obnoxious fucking case. I can't even believe a jury would even say that she committed manslaughter unknowingly. How the fuck do you back into somebody's arm? Their arm. Not their leg, not their hip, not their side, not their back, not their chest, not their stomach. Their fucking arm that's out in front of them. How the fuck do you back into that arm and get thrown 30 fucking feet through the air? Can somebody show me how the fuck that really works? I can't even imagine. That in and of itself, the case should be dismissed. Oh, look at that. That's pretty interesting. The tip was given. Kohberger was not on any list of those being investigated. Not in the tower dump list. Not in the list of owners of the 11 to 13. No, they started specifically targeting Brian Kohberger in December. Fair enough, Heather? How did they know in December that it was Brian Kohberger they needed to target? Are the dates and times they're claiming that they did this analysis with the IgG, are they even accurate? Was the IgG, the billing and the dates, the 22 or whatever the dates were so close to each other, is that even accurate? Was this work done earlier? Was it done at Othram and then handed off to the FBI? And then the FBI used Othram's work to give a tip? We don't know. But we do know it was handed off to Othram. But when? And was Othram prevented from building a tree? We don't know. Othram is supposed to have software that allows them to identify DNA with the least amount of molecules. 8 molecules is all they need. Everybody else around the world needs 11 to 20. They have some new revolutionary fucking stuff. Okay. Was that enough to give you a Kohberger ID? No. So there's so many fucked up things that surround what they did. And I understand, look, if in all fairness, folks, let's say the FBI crosses all their T's and dots all of their I's, and they send a sample to these labs, and they get 23andMe, and they get Ancestry.com, and they get every Tom, Dick, and fucking Harry with a database to see if this database, if this sample hits. That hit doesn't say they committed the crime. That hit gives you a suspect. So now the FBI takes that information and they call the agency, the local agency, and they say, look, as far as the sample you sold us, that sample hits this particular family tree, this particular name. And here's the particular people from that tree that it could be. And that's the end of it. The FBI is done. That is a legitimate tip. I don't like it, but but again, it is a tip. So long as they cross their T's and dot their I's, get their warrants, let the agencies or let the companies know who they're doing their genealogy work with, that this is for law enforcement, that they're looking to develop a suspect name. As long as they follow all the rules, I don't object to anything. Now, if somebody wants to later come forward and bring to court the unconstitutionality of these rules, I don't complain about that either. But again, once they fulfill this process, they then give you a tip. It's your job, the local law enforcement, to vet this tip. Does this particular name have anything to do with this crime? And if the answer is yes, how? Explain to us, show us in a factual way how that person connects to this crime. And they never were able to do that. They made up a fucking story. So, like I said in the beginning, this kid could have fucking do it, and he might be going free. And for being the lazy fucking Americans that we are, we want to argue and watch Banfield videos. We want to watch we want to solve the crime. Free Brian Kohberger. No, motherfucker, free America by following what your government officials are doing. You want freedom, get freedom for all of us. Get freedom for yourself. Okay? And find out if the government did their due diligence, because it could be both. He didn't do it or he did do it. Nobody can fucking answer that question but Brian. And the way this has been convoluted by the cops and all of their bullshit fucking stories, it's just insane. All right, what time is it here? It's 12:02. Well, it's been a nice 3-hour stream. Actually, I started at 9:05, so it's not quite 3 hours for those people that want to claim it to be. It's actually 2 hours and 57 fucking minutes. How you like them apples? Sergeant Friday, just the facts, folks. Well, I thank you all for coming in here. I bet you I could talk and still hold 130 fucking listeners for the rest of the night, but I'm not going to do that. Whew. Even I get tired of hearing my own voice. So live from Beijing, atop the Cock Tower with Liga My Balls, the famous Liga My Balls Convention Center. Don't forget to book your weddings at Liga My Balls. And, you all be good. And we'll be back again when, I can't promise. I don't know. I'm open to having a little panel on Sebastian. I don't want it to become accusatory to any of the individuals surrounding the case unless there's evidence against them. Bilty Gaswinger by was stalking the girls. He knew all that stuff. Yeah, he didn't know. He knows that that's all a lie. He's stalking the girls to set up a crime. Yeah, how do you know that? Well, we got his cell phone being recorded. You fucking idiots. The cell phone's got a 15 or 20 mile radius from that tower, you fucking twits. Could have been anywhere in that radius. Oh, boy. All right. Well, listen. All that being said, I appreciate the people that came in. I hope you're all going to have yourself a great turkey day, which is today. I'm trying to drag this out to the exact 3-hour mark. I'm filling in the blanks with bullshit. Send me your money. Send me your super chat. Send me this. Send me that. None of that, what you're able to do, because I refuse to take anything from anybody. A dirty area. They all have blood on their hands, in my opinion. And I agree with that. That was well said, Susan. We'll put that on the screen. Look at that. I don't know anything about a Suzanne Morphew case. Never heard of it. In the meantime, folks, like I said, we're almost to the end of the stream here. Come on, a few seconds and we'll be at the exact 3-hour mark. And at that point, I'm out. So I am out. Have a good one.